Hey guys, this is Courtney from Willis Bloom, and I am super excited today to talk to you about the Gemini new moon eclipse that's going to be happening on June 10th at 19 degrees of Gemini. So, because it's a new moon, that means it's a solar eclipse because the sun is actually going to be on top of the moon, covering it up. So, yeah, it's considered a solar eclipse. So, a solar eclipse is generally what we see are some big outer changes in our lives. And that's something that I was really picking up on with this moon because it's making a conjunction with Mercury. So, the planet of thinking, the planet of communication, of travel, of decision making is right next to the moon at this time. Mercury generally travels very close to the sun and moon. However, specifically the sun. However, it's not always right there within 1 degree of it. So it is hanging out right next to that sun and moon. And it's basically giving it an extra tinge of Gemini energy because Mercury is the planet that rules Gemini, which means it has a very similar nature to Gemini. And if you know anything about Gemini, it's a lot about being collecting a lot of information, discriminating between the information, making decisions based off of facts, connecting different pieces of information. That's kind of like the Gemini Sagittarius aspect, especially. It's about being very open minded, being open to change and adaptability. So there's kind of a lot that goes with this, but a lot of it is mental activity, and that's exactly what Mercury is. So, what I was understanding with this moon is that I feel like a lot of us are going to have to make decisions. And if you know anything about an eclipse, it's basically an amplified moon, which means that it's going to carry energy that will last the next 6 months. So the events that are taking place for this new moon or on this new moon don't have to actually take place on the same day. It could be any time within the next 6 months. So I think that's super important to keep in mind because while you might start to see things come in now and get an inkling of what that might be, eclipses can create kind of a sudden change, especially with Gemini energy, especially with Mercury energy, where there's already this change ability inherent in it. That plus it being an eclipse can create really radical overnight change. So I just want you to be aware that that overnight change might not be at the time of the eclipse. So I think some people can kind of get confused sometimes if they're like, well, this day came and went and nothing big happened. I thought eclipses were supposed to change your life. Yeah, to an extent, I think a lot of people will have their lives changed by this. It depends on what planets you have there and which houses they fall in. But again, it can happen at any point. So you might not be looking out for this exact thing and it kind of happens within the next 6 months. So what I'm seeing again is that there's going to be a lot of us who have to make some sort of life altering decision when it comes to some area of our life. And I'm going to break down all the signs coming up next. So you'll kind of know where that decision might fall for you. But I do feel like this life altering decision or this big decision is going to possibly be harder to make right now because there is a square happening with Neptune. So Mercury is the logical mind, and that's involved in this moon. So we get a lot of those logical aspects of ourselves at this time. But then the square to Neptune kind of defeats the logical side. It emphasizes the idealistic side, the side of us that we can really feel and understand the intangible or the energy behind things. And the logic doesn't really go so well with this. It's kind of like the spiritual essence that we are moving through versus the factual essence of things. So they're kind of at odds with each other at this time, especially because a square is an aspect that denotes some kind of friction or difficulty or challenge that needs to be overcome. So while we're trying to make these decisions based off of facts, there is this part of us that has a lack of clarity because of this square with Neptune, because we're feeling things that we can't see or fully comprehend. It's almost like we're getting an insight into the future, but it's coming through our intuition and we don't have a reason for it, and it can make it harder to make the decision because we're getting these like inklings or these downloads, but we're not really sure why or where it's coming from or what it means. And so it's going to be really important for us to trust our intuition at this time and to use that as a guiding factor and not try to compete with the logic, but use that to really supplement or help it. And yeah, just not being like overly rigid and trying to hold on to facts, because I feel like a lot is going to come in as downloads intuitively that we aren't able to fully comprehend in a factual way. And I did pull some cards for this because I was just curious, and it pretty much states everything that I just did. So I was curious about what the square to Neptune meant, and I pulled the Seven of Cups, which is literally in astrology and in tarot is the card that represents this Neptunian energy, and having lots of choices and not knowing what to choose. And this card as well, the Two of Swords, is having two choices and not knowing what to choose. So there's some element here, especially since she's blindfolded, there's some element here of being blindfolded, of not seeing the future, not seeing the outcome. And I also pulled the King of Cups, which is an extremely emotionally based sign card, Jesus. An extremely intuitive card. It's like really mastering your emotions and using those to help guide you. So while both of the Seven of Cups and Two of Swords can't see the future, they can feel it with the King of Cups. So the decisions that we're making at this time, we are meant to feel in our body and decide it from that place. I also feel like it's not just decisions. It could just be allowing change to occur, because eclipses, they do bring about change, especially in Gemini. It's like there needs to be some sort of openness and adaptability at this time. So even if you're not making the decisions, even if it's happening to you, the decision that you make then is like how you're going to respond to it. So that is where it needs to kind of come from, the intuition. Am I going to fight this? Am I going to resist this? Am I going to feel uncomfortable? Or am I just going to kind of surrender and let it go and just go with the flow? That's like a really big point here. This moon is also making a really loose trine to Saturn. So if you know anything about orbs, it's at 6 degrees, and normally I look at like 5 and tighter and lower. So I don't really want to like hone in on this particularly, but I do want to mention it because I actually feel like this trine is super helpful, because Saturn is coming here with a little bit of supportive energy in terms of grounding us, because Neptune can kind of take us into the clouds like this card. It can kind of take us out of reality. And then Saturn and Mercury here are kind of bringing us back down to the denseness of the earth to help us make more long-term decisions, more practical decisions, but based off of our intuition. This trine to Saturn, the first word that came to mind when I wrote it down was commitment. So whatever decisions you are making or whatever changes you are going through, really committing to those things, because that's really the only way to get the results or to have that full transformation. I think sometimes when we aren't sure, we kind of want to stand in this like wishy-washiness or this indecisiveness, or of like, okay, well, if I don't decide, then then that's okay, then I don't have to feel this discomfort. But actually, when you don't decide, that is deciding something. And so I feel like Saturn is coming here to tell us to commit. So make the decision and commit, and really go in full force using your intuition and trusting yourself at this time. I think a lot of this energy is around surrendering and being open to this change happening in your life. So let's talk about some things that are happening in the sky that are not directly impacted or touching this moon. So first of all, we have Venus in Cancer making a sextile to Uranus in Taurus. So this is really exciting because I feel like this kind of goes along with the whole summer energy that we're finally moving into. And Venus basically can bring us a lot of emotional fulfillment, especially being in Cancer. It can make us much more adept at connecting with one another and really feeling people and processing our emotions and having really strong relationships with people at this time, where we can feel like we can really see eye to eye. And I like that there's a sextile with Uranus, because Uranus involves this kind of like fun, uplifting change of energy. And what I feel like is happening is, now that we're moving into summer, we're starting to finally go out. People are stopping wearing masks. Events are starting to come on. Clubs are opening. Bars are opening. People are traveling. And that's the energy that I'm getting from this, is that we're just having a lot more fun and excitement, not only in our relationships, but in the things that we value doing at this time. And I feel like finally people are starting to connect more with one another and meet new people. And like that's the energy that I'm getting from this, is that there's an increased activity in our social life and ability to connect and understand and enjoy one another. And I also feel like it's a really great time for creatives, especially with that square to Neptune, even though that's a harsh angle with the moon. Neptune is a really creative energy. So ultimately, there might be some challenges around having a clear idea of what you want to create, but like the creativity is there, if that makes sense. So you might not have the full vision, but if you just kind of take one step at a time, you'll kind of get these like crazy divine downloads about what the next creative thing would be, or that great creative idea, but it's again not like the full picture or how it's going to be used. There's like some lack of clarity is what I'm trying to say. Like, so you can get these crazy downloads, but you might not always know how to apply it or when it's going to be done and that type of thing. It's like the inklings are starting to come in now, and it feels really exciting. So if you guys do get downloads at this time that are creating something for your future, for a project or for your family or whatever it is, if it's a book, anything, write those down, because I think what Uranus tends to bring is these kind of genius strokes of ideas, especially with Venus, where it can give us blessings, and Venus also does rule creativity along with Neptune. So I feel like it's giving us a lot of ideas of things that will at some point be very attractive to other people. So if you're trying to make it for other people, for everyone to enjoy, then this is a really good time to kind of collect those ideas, and then maybe later you'll have more clarity about how to apply them, how to use them. So we also have Venus making a square with Chiron. So even though we do have a lot opening back up and people reconnecting and there's really good vibes between people, the square to Chiron to me is saying that there is still some element here of past relationship pain coming to the forefront. So it's almost like we're connecting more people, we're making these new exciting relationships, we're learning a lot from other people, but then because we are reconnecting, we're being faced with maybe similar patterns that we've seen in old relationships that we need to overcome, or childhood fears that we've kind of established as maybe relationship issues kind of coming to the surface. Because Chiron is an asteroid that does deal with childhood wounding. So when it's interacting with Venus, the planet of love and relationships and connection, to me that's showing that our relationships are somehow kind of triggering old childhood wounds. And so if you're noticing that come up, like if you're having a fear with this, maybe you connect with a bunch of new people and one of them kind of brings up this fear of rejection or this fear of something that happened in the past. Just know that that's really normal at this time and it's coming up to be healed. So I'm hoping that Uranus energy will support that healing and support any changes that we need to make within ourselves to kind of release our attachment to those past outcomes and not be afraid that they're going to repeat themselves in relationships in the future. Okay, we also have Uranus making a square to Saturn. So on June 14th, it's going to be at 0 degrees. This is an ongoing square that's been happening all year and is going to continue literally all year. But it becomes exact on June 14th and December 24th of this year. It was also exact on February 17th earlier this year. So that's when the energy kind of culminates and we can feel it most strongly. So think back to mid-February and kind of see what was going on around your life at that time. What were you trying to change? And were you frustrated with any of those changes? Were you frustrated with any impediments in making those changes? Because this is really common energy with this square. Uranus creates a desire for immediate change, and Saturn slows things down and kind of puts roadblocks. So sometimes it's like we have to put way more effort to make that change really occur. And that is definitely frustrating and it tends to build up a lot of energy. But the good news with that is that because we're putting so much more effort into making these changes over this next year, they're changes that are actually here to stay. So just think about that area of your life where you have been trying to make changes and you might have felt like it was like that start-stop or that false start kind of thing, or you made a change and then you realize you have so many other issues or so many other things that you need to change in that in that area in order for you to really see results. Like, this isn't the energy of making immediate change and seeing results. I feel like this whole year we're going to be working on ourselves to make that change, and then the following year when this square is finally done, we're going to start to see more results come in. So I do feel like a lot of us this entire year are going to be struggling with one aspect of change in our lives for the entire year. And that's okay. Sometimes change takes a long time, especially change that has been needed to be made for such a long time. Like, if this is something that you've done your entire life, it would be naive to think that you can just wipe your hands clean of it because you decided. A lot of these things are patterns or behaviors or thoughts that have really accumulated this entire mass within us, and it's not like we can just throw that all away. We have to chip away at it over time to become that person underneath that we used to be. And so I feel like having a lot of patience with ourselves is going to be important at this time, as well as being aware that around June 14th, we might feel a little bit frustrated. We might encounter more difficulties and more challenges, but ultimately it is here for our benefit. And just as long as we're not trying to rush it, but we're putting in that consistent effort to do something different and realizing if we're doing that start-stop kind of motion in these changes, that is normal and that's okay. So I'm going to get more into specifics when I go into each sign about where you might be making that change for you and where you might have that kind of frustrated, blocked energy. Okay, we also have Mars in Cancer in opposition with Pluto, so in Capricorn. So this is going to be exact on June 5th, but they're going to be in a tight enough orb that we'll still feel it at this moon. So Mars opposite Pluto is a pretty intense energy that can bring about a lot of drive, a lot of ambition. It can make us feel much more competitive. So if you've been in any kind of competitive field, even just buying something, like, I mean, right now our resources are limited in a lot of ways. So houses, wood, appliances, cars, a lot of these things are much more limited than they used to be because of COVID stopping production. So there can be this element of competition to kind of get what you want. In the other way, though, it can just be a lot of courage, a lot of tenacity and drive to go after what you want, even if it's not beating other people down and being competitive. There is like some sort of element here of you having a lot of vitality, energy, willpower to go after your dreams. And yeah, I see a lot of strength coming in with this. So to really see things through, to really make things happen, that takes a great deal of inner reserve. That takes a great deal of strength. And so I feel like this is a really supportive energy, even though it can be quite intense. When I say intense, I just mean that sometimes there can be people that come up and kind of thwart us or block us or try to control us, and that's kind of where competition comes in. Like, there's someone coming in to kind of get in your way from success. This won't always happen, but it can happen because Pluto has a very domineering kind of energy to it. And so we can encounter people that try to dominate us while we are trying to exert our own will, which is Mars. So we're just trying to self-actualize. We're just trying to do what we want to do. And then other people are like, nah, bitch, like, you can't do that kind of energy. So that's one possibility with this. Another is, like, you could have a really high sex drive at this time, honestly, but just be really careful about that because you could end up in situations where there is, you know, like accusations of rape or you are raped. I hate to even say that because it's like I should give a trigger warning, but basically it's just a time when there can be that like dominance kind of action going on within your sex life. So just be really careful. If you are doing anything, like, make sure you get consent, make sure you have safe words or whatever you're doing, because it can be like a little bit more intense at this time. And it can be just really helpful in general to channel this extra oomph of vitality energy into exercise. So besides your career, besides your ambition, and besides your sex life, put that into exercise. Like, much more aggressive, intense exercise is going to be beneficial at this time to kind of burn that out and like release that energy that's going to be a little bit pent up. But what I love about this is that Pluto is also making a sextile to Neptune, and this is basically going to make it, sorry, I just want to see. This is basically going to make it a little bit more chill. So like normally when Mars is opposite Pluto, we can encounter like the more difficult aspects of people again, like coming up against us and that type of thing. But the feeling that I'm getting with that is it's probably going to be unlikely for a lot of us to have that scenario play out because of the sextile to Neptune. Neptune is a softer energy, so it's coming in here and saying that we're getting more of the blessing sides of this rather than the negative sides. So it's going to give us more compassion, more understanding. I feel like it would take away some of that competitive edge. So while that is possible for some of us, I feel like for most of us, we're going to have a softer experience of this. And so it can just be having more intense drive and using that for our career, but not having people come at us, not being competitive and not being threatened or any type of thing like that because of Neptune. So yeah, I feel like that's a really good balance there. And then lastly, we have Saturn trining the North Node. So this has been going on for a while now. This is not anything new. But to me, this is basically saying that the effort that we're putting in at each moon, at each phase of our life, the consistency, the commitment to showing up towards our goals, towards the things that are helping us grow, are really going to pay off. They're going to be slow and steady progress, but it's definitely going to pay off, especially with the North Node in Gemini and this being an eclipse in Gemini. I feel like it's basically saying that the commitment that we have to ourselves, to our decisions, to our personal progress in our life is going to produce a lot of change. It's going to really, really alter us as human beings because, again, Gemini is about change. So that commitment to ourselves is going to create the internal shifts that we've been really, really looking for a long time. So I just wanted to kind of tell you guys, keep going, and you're doing really good. And this year has already been kind of intense, but in a good way. And so I hope that everyone is enjoying it. So I'm about to jump into all of the zodiac signs. So definitely check out at least your rising sign. I prefer to do rising and sun sign. Sometimes the moon sign, especially if I have more than one planet in that sign of my moon. But before I do that, I just wanted to announce that the North Node Society community is open for business. So you can come and join us. It is only $20 a month, and you guys get so much for that. So I have a full astrology course there for you guys, which is valued definitely over $300, and you have full access to it. And I'll also be doing live astrology calls each month, and you can even give me your chart to interpret on some of the live calls. I also am going to have kind of like a spiritual therapist, coach person come in and do some shadow work and inner child work live on the call with you guys, which is extremely valuable. And I know it's definitely significantly cheaper to do it like this and to work one-on-one. And then we're also going to be having live breathwork sessions. So again, all of this for $20 is definitely a lot. And then we're going to have live guest experts come on each month as well. And we're going to have sometimes some full moon gatherings or new moon gatherings or eclipse gatherings, whatever it is. And that's going to be a chance for us to really see what's going on in your chart and kind of apply the moon to what's going on in your life. And that is super fun because we're able to actually see what that looks like with astrology. So it's like applied astrology, basically seeing it in action in everyone's lives, and it's super beneficial. And it's cool because I can also add feedback as to what they might experience based off of that. So it's just going to be so much fun, and I really hope that you guys join because I'm having a blast already in there, and it's just going to continue to grow and to get better and to have more materials. So yeah, if you want to know anything about astrology, just how to read where these moons fall or what that even means, then you definitely want to check out the course, which is in the membership. So you can go ahead and join using the link below. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with Aries Rising. All right, Aries Rising. So for you guys, this new moon eclipse, solar eclipse in Gemini, is happening in your third house of communication, early childhood education, traveling, being really busy. And honestly, that's the feeling I'm getting is like you guys are going to be hectically busy. That's the first word that comes to mind is hectic. I feel like you guys are planning a lot for the future, and this definitely feels like it's going to be successful, but I feel like you guys have a lot on your plate for sure. And I forgot to mention in the main video that Mercury is actually retrograde. So it might feel like a little bit crazy at this time to be making decisions and all of this, because Mercury is right there with this moon and it's moving backwards, which is kind of drawing the energy back in time to have us redo or reanalyze something. So even though you guys might be really busy, you could possibly be busy with something that you already started on before, something that isn't new. That's the sense that I'm getting, that you guys are like really busy, maybe redoing something if you mess something up at some point, or if you just need to go into more detail and really like give it a second shot. I am getting the sense that there is some revisiting here happening, but around third house topics, which could be you revisiting a conversation that you had with someone at some point and needing to really address that, or you presenting someone or presenting something or showing up on social media in a different way and kind of reanalyzing what you want your social media presence to be like. Or it could be you literally moving around and just being like super busy in general. You could be moving locations, traveling, or just having a lot on your plate and needing to revisit things because maybe you're so busy that some things kind of get swept under the rug or don't get fully addressed at this time. And yeah, I definitely feel like you guys are, I feel like you're making something new, but having to revisit an old part of it to like finalize it. So I hope that makes sense. And I definitely think you're making something new because I got this birthing a new age card, which says birthing new creations, dreaming a new world into being. So I definitely get the sense that there's something new coming from this. I definitely get the sense that you're going to be changing your life in some way because of whatever you're working on now. And I feel like you're making long-term plans, or you're looking ahead in whatever you're working on and trying to see the best way to go about this. So there is some really good element here of really utilizing Mercury's energy of planning, of thinking, of analyzing, looking at the facts, the data to know kind of when to do what or how to do what. So I feel like this is a really good time to be planning, to make sure that you're sticking kind of on schedule, because I'm getting the feeling with so much busy energy in the third house that you can kind of, you need it organized, you need it streamlined, you need to have a plan, a schedule to stick to in order to make things happen. And this moon is also making a square to Neptune in the 12th house. So I feel like there can be some things that might come up in your plan that are unseen right now, where not that it can, I don't want to, that sounds really negative. So what I was going to say is like something that can kind of sabotage you. And that's not the feeling that I get that it's going to sabotage you, but I definitely feel like with the 12th house, there can often be an element here of, there can be an element of self-sabotage, but sometimes there can be a lot of like our own fear stored here, like a fear of failure, a fear of loss, a fear of rejection that oftentimes can come up with the 12th house. And the reason I'm specifically saying that is because I did pull the Devil card. So sometimes when we are creating something new and we have to revisit something about it, there can be a lot of conjecture that comes up in our mind around us not being good enough, or us having messed up, or something, you know, blaming ourselves for maybe something that went wrong, that type of thing. Like you needing to revisit something that you've been working on, that you've been doing, and feeling like some aspect of it wasn't right. I feel like you can kind of get in your head around that and create fears, create stories that are not necessarily helpful for you. And I pulled this Mars in Aquarius card where it says rebellion. That's interesting. Mars in Aquarius. I feel like because I pulled this and then I pulled the Star card, which is an Aquarius card. So I feel like this is actually kind of the answer for you here. Like this is how things are resolved, or the outcome, which is the Star card, which is very positive. It means that there's hope. Things are turning a new leaf. You are actually making progress. Like, so I feel like you're going to kind of come out of this dark tunnel of feeling like you can't really catch up, or like you're not good enough, or like something is going wrong. I feel like you're going to come out of that in a really positive way here, and you're going to have success, and you're going to feel really hopeful about your future after that. And so it's interesting because both of these have Aquarius energy, which is like long-term vision for the future, your long-term goals, and Mars is that too. Or Mars is giving you the energy and the drive to pursue that. So I feel like what this is saying is that Gemini can kind of bring a lot of change. It kind of throw like a monkey wrench in things. It can kind of create the unexpected, is what I'm trying to say. And so you might have to really focus on the long-term vision during this time so that you can move through the changes and not be so worried, so concerned. If you're trying to focus on having like a really set plan or goal right now, I think it's helpful, but it's like, I feel like you need to set the vision for the long-term plan, the long-term goal, and not the immediate, because I feel like in the immediate environment, a lot is going to be changing, and that's kind of like what's causing this devil energy, is that a lot needs to change or be revisited or redone, and that is kind of throwing you for a loop. But if you can just keep your vision on not worrying about what's happening now as much as keeping the long-term vision and the long-term focus, I think that's going to be your North Star that will guide you through. And ultimately you do have the birthing new age, which is all these stars and the star card. So I do feel like whatever does happen in the end is going to be extremely positive. It's going to feel like it's very fortuitous. So I'm definitely getting the sense that you guys pull through this in an extremely beneficial way. I just think sometimes the water can get a little bit muddy when we're kicking it up in the present moment with all our flurry of activity, of worry, of things that we need to redo. And sometimes we can lose sight of where we're going because of that. And it can really take away from the magic that is going to happen. So just be mindful of that with that square to Neptune. You guys also have Venus in Cancer in the 4th house, making a sextile to Uranus in your 2nd house. So, I feel like this is giving you guys a greater sense of stability right now, which is really needed, which is interesting to say with Uranus energy, because Uranus typically brings instability. But because it's Venus and because it's the 4th and the 2nd house, I feel like any changes that are coming are actually going to help stabilize things, or going to give you a greater sense of freedom and stability. I feel like these things are kind of going to go hand in hand. Like you might get like more financial freedom coming your way, because Venus sextiling Uranus can bring good financial news, more abundance into your life. And I feel like that could then, that extra freedom in terms of money, like having more money to spend, can help support your home life and make you feel more stable, make you feel more grounded. It could also mean that it doesn't just have to be money. I feel like it can also mean that you guys are having some blessings come in and change come in terms of your skills. So like, even though you might have this kind of devil energy, you're actually learning and growing a lot. And ultimately, those blessings coming in around developing your skills are creating that sense of stability and security in yourself, where you feel like you're becoming more emotionally strong because you realize that you have the power to do incredible things, and that you made it through this kind of challenging time and are even better for it, is what I'm getting. You guys also have Venus making a square to Chiron in the 1st house. So I feel like you're going to have to envision yourself in a different way. I think there's a lot of internal healing around your identity happening with Chiron moving into the 1st house. There are a lot of situations happening over many, many years to come, and has been there for many years, where you're going to be presented at random times throughout the year opportunities to really examine who you are, what you believe, what you want to do, how you view life. So many different aspects of basically your identity. And with Venus making a square here, it's like you're being asked to look at that a little bit more and do some healing around that. I feel like the sense, like your skills being developed and creating that internal sense of security is requiring you to shift the way that you view yourself, is what I'm trying to say. So it's like, if you start getting better at something, you have to start seeing yourself as that boss ass bitch, or whatever you want to call it. Like, you have to start seeing yourself in a different light. And I feel like that's what's happening at this time. And that's why it's a square, because it's not always easy to do that. It's not like we can just even if we're developing skills kind of slowly over time, it's not like we can just look at ourselves totally differently one day in the mirror. It's like that takes some effort, that takes some courage, and that takes time also to change our perception of ourselves and our identity and of our skills. So we have to believe that we're getting better, basically, that you deserve to get better, that you are getting better, and that you're awesome. You guys also have Mars in the 4th house in Cancer, making an opposition to Pluto in the 10th. So I am getting here this kind of push and pull between your desire to spend some time at home, chilling, relaxing, just being you, taking time for yourself, and then this outside pressure coming in through your career or through some type of responsibility in the external world where you have more leadership or someone or something to take care of. It's like you're desiring to be at home, but then you also want to really excel in your career. It's like there's these two push and pulls happening. And ultimately, I feel like as long as you rest, you can do both. It might feel like you can't do both. It might feel like you don't have enough time for both. But I do think that you will do both successfully because of the star card and because of the sextile to Neptune in the 12th. If you take time alone, if you take time to rest, to meditate, to sleep, to dream, whatever it is, like to really unplug from your mind or from the day, it's going to give you the ability or the reserves to do a lot more than maybe you thought you could do and to achieve a lot more and to kind of get it all done. But yeah, that's what I'm kind of seeing for you guys. So if you're interested in learning more about astrology, more about your purpose and about yourself and your psyche, then I highly encourage you to join the North Node Society, which is linked down below. Thanks. Bye. All right. Up next, we have Taurus Rising. So for you guys, this new moon solar eclipse in Gemini is happening in your 2nd house of finances, and it's conjunct Mercury, which is retrograde at this time. So that's something I didn't mention in the intro, was that Mercury is retrograde, which oftentimes asks us to re-look at something that we've done in the past. And because this eclipse is in Gemini, a Mercury-ruled sign, I feel like that becomes even more apparent, even stronger. So there is some element here, I feel like, where you guys could be revisiting something about your finances, something about your work or your skills. And, okay, I am pulling some cards to kind of go along with this, because the 2nd house can bring about changes in your finances and your skills and your stability, any type of resources. This moon is also making a square to Neptune in the 11th house. So I feel like you guys are definitely being supported by your community at this time with this square to Neptune, but you might not have a clear vision around how that community is supposed to look, or who those people are supposed to be, or how it's going to come in. So this is going to be really important to trust your intuition around who you receive help from. Maybe somebody could literally come in and like give you financial help, like be some kind of donor, or help you develop your skills, like some kind of friends that help bring in connections. Maybe they bring in clients. There is some element here of the community coming in to support your stability, to support your financial success. But maybe again, not having the clarity like around who that is, what that's going to look like, type of thing. I definitely get the community aspect because I did pull the 3 of Pentacles, and these are people that are collaborating, that are working together, that are establishing a network that is going to benefit one another. So I'm definitely getting the feeling that that is coming in for you. But I also pulled the 4 of Cups, which I feel like is somebody receiving something, an emotional offer that they're not really considering, or that they don't know if they want it. And so I feel like that this is you having to make a decision about who you want to work with, or the support that you want to receive, or the friends that you want to have. I really do feel like there's some element of work here because of the Pentacles card, and there's some, and like I also pulled the Queen of Wands, the Magician. So you guys are manifesting some big stuff. But I definitely feel like you're having to decide whether or not you want to bring people along, or you want those people in there. And that 4 of Cups kind of seems like she's not that interested. But I guess I want to say to just be careful that you don't turn down something that has a lot of possibilities linked to it. Because I think sometimes we can be really hasty and be like, I want to do this myself. I don't need support. I don't need these friends. I don't need this situation. I don't need to ask for somebody's help. And the feeling that I get here, this could possibly be, I think for some of you, you're meant to work with them. You're meant to have those friends. And I feel like you might not be open to it. Whereas some of you, you actually might not benefit from working from them. So what I'm getting here is that you're really going to have to listen to your intuition on this one. Like, I'm not giving you a yes or a no. I'm just getting the feeling that some of you might hastily reject support or collaboration in some area of your life or friendship. And actually, it could be really helpful in bringing in finances and bringing in things that you need to succeed in the future and helping you create more resources. The other thing with Neptune in the 11th is like, the other aspect of Neptune is like not to be over idealistic about things. So I guess you just want to really try your best to trust your intuition and like see things how they are and not more or less than what they are when it comes to receiving support. So you might not have a clear idea of how something or someone will pan out, but really trust your intuition. Really, really trust it. And again, I feel like I haven't touched on this enough. Mercury is retrograde, so there is some element of redoing something here, revisiting something in relationships and finances. Maybe this is someone you've worked with in the past or you thought about working with in the past, like you never got to really fully flesh it out. It's like, I see you guys kind of like picking things back up where you left off type of thing. So whatever that is in terms of developing your skills and working with somebody, or having more friends and that somehow leading to your sense of self-worth and confidence, or developing and increasing your finances through your network, or focusing on your long-term goals. There's something here that you're like going back to from the past. You're revisiting it and deciding how you want to do things differently moving forward, or like actually seeing things through that you didn't get to fully do last time. Okay, so I pulled the crumbling. What are you clinging on to? So this is just like the Tower card in tarot. So there is something that's needing to be let go of. And what's interesting is that an eclipse in Gemini in the second house feels like that kind of shake-up type of energy. Like something needs to change in your sense of stability, because the second house is where we go to find comfort. Like, what do people use money for? They use money to feel secure, to feel safe, and a lot of times people will hold on to it, or they will hold on to things to feel that sense of safety. And so I feel like the Gemini energy is coming here to kind of shake things up and telling you to take more of a risk, or to make a change and not get stagnating, and not stagnate based off of this desire to feel safe and hold on to things and preserve things as they were. Like, I'm getting the sense that you're meant to be bringing in more connections and more people, but like you don't want to. It's like you feel safe and better when you're alone. It's kind of the energy that I'm getting. And I feel like you're actually meant to be receiving support from other people. A lot of you, at least. Especially because Pluto is also making a sextile to Neptune in the 11th house. Pluto's in your 9th house. It's making a sextile to Neptune in the 11th. Pluto being in the 9th house is helping you undergo a larger transformation across years around your belief systems, or around what you literally believe about yourself, about life, about what's possible for you. And just having more optimism and personal growth that takes place when Neptune and when Pluto transits there. And the fact that it's making such a positive aspect to Neptune in the 11th, I feel like it's saying that you are meant to receive support from your friends, and that's going to help you shift your beliefs about what you can achieve. But again, you have to be open to it. You have to be open to changing your thoughts about people and about what you're willing to receive from those people. Okay, I also pulled the Pleiades card, double mission, channeling and uplifting humanity. So yeah, I feel like these people are coming in here. Like, the Pleiades are a group of star seeds, and you can see here they're like, there's 4 of them kind of transcending into the heavens. And what I'm getting from this is that you guys have a group of people that you have soul contracts with that you are meant to transcend into a new reality to help the world, but you need that support group in order to do that. And so you don't want to block out those people that are trying to come and help you. I also pulled the Warrior Woman card, which is, have you answered your deepest calling? So I feel like this is you fighting for what you want out of life. That's a lot of what Eclipse in the second house is, like, what do you want? Let's make those changes. Let's see those things through that we need to in order to get what we want. So that's why I feel like the Warrior Woman is. She's standing up for herself, for her beliefs, for what she knows to be true, and for what she wants out of life. And I feel like a warrior doesn't fight alone. Like, a warrior has a whole battalion to go along with it. And that's really what I'm feeling for you guys. You're not meant to fight alone either. I got the Moon and Aries card, protection. So I feel like this is you right now. Like, a Moon and Aries person is somebody who's fiercely independent, somebody who wants to go it alone. And I feel like you're meant to transition this, because Aries, while they can be fiercely like the lone warriors, and it's literally next to the Warrior Woman, I feel like what I'm getting from this is actually that you can step up into the higher octave of the Moon in Aries, which is about being a leader of others. So it's not just about being alone and doing it yourself and having that all under your control, which a lot of times Taurus can have this desire for stability, and stability can often be equated with a sense of control. So I'm getting the feeling here that you're meant to be releasing a little bit, but in terms of like allowing people to come in and help, to receive, to be supported, but you can still have some sense of control in the fact that you're not doing it alone, so you don't have your hands on every little thing, but you are leading other people, so you're telling other people how to do the other things. Because I'm getting the sense here that you're not just doing like an equal collaboration. Normally when I get this kind of card, I feel like there's an equal collaboration. But it was followed by the Queen of Wands and the Magician. These are really powerful solo energies. So the Queen of Wands is very confident, very intuitive. She knows exactly what she wants. And the Magician does too. The Magician is creating the exact life that it wants through its own efforts, through its own desires. So I'm getting the feeling that you guys have this really powerful manifestation energy, this really powerful passion. But I feel like it's almost like you don't like want other people to like bring you down or kind of get in your way, or if you did hire someone or get someone to help you or use your friends, like, are they going to do it as well as me? And the energy or the feeling that I'm getting from this is that if you lead them, if you can step up into that Aries moon of being a confident leader and showing them what to do, then you can confidently pass that baton on so that you don't have to take everything on yourself, because you're not going to be able to manifest the things that you really want to manifest if you're putting your energy into every single thing yourself. Like, you would do best by channeling your energy into what you do best and hiring or getting support or some kind of assistance to really do the rest, the things that aren't as natural to you, the things that take up too much of your energy, of your time, and aren't the best way for you to spend your energy or time. You guys also have Venus in Cancer in the 3rd house, making a sextile to Uranus in the 1st. So I feel like this is you having more change come in around your, like, I feel like this is you kind of like stepping up as that leader with Uranus in the 1st. And I feel like you're almost going to be surprised at how well you can communicate and lead others. With Venus in Cancer in the 3rd, I feel like you're going to be impressed by yourself if you do kind of step into this Queen of Wands energy, this Aries moon energy. You can have a lot of confidence and decisiveness and power and a little bit of control, but it doesn't have to come across as aggressive. It doesn't have to come across as it doesn't have to create any rifts in relationships to command people. That's what I'm getting a sense. Like, you're the warrior, you're the commander, you are leading people. And I feel like you're going to be very pleasantly surprised at how well you are able to do that in a way that doesn't ruffle feathers, in a way that actually feels good for everyone involved, but has that strong sense of authority without being a pushover. So it's like a really fine line that you're towing, and I feel like you're really getting a hold of it. Venus is making a square to Chiron in the 12th, so I feel like there is some element here of a loss of control that you have to heal. Like, okay, I have to be comfortable with not having my hands on everything. I have to be comfortable with things sometimes like being out of my control, or things happening and I just don't know everything that's going on. I don't have my eyes on everything. I can't do everything at once. That's what this square to Chiron to me is saying, that there's going to be some healing in that, and that you're going to have to let go of the things that you can't control and be okay with that. And maybe this is some change that you've been thinking about making for a while and you like just haven't because of whatever reason. Like maybe you've been thinking about hiring someone or making new friends or trying to pull in support to help you increase your finances, but it's something that you've been kind of dragging your feet about. And now it's like, now that Mercury's retrograde and this eclipse is happening in your second house, you're like, all right, let's revisit that. Let's go back to that idea because I'm actually getting overwhelmed, or I'm actually noticing I can't fully grow my skills because I'm focusing on the minutia of all these little things in daily life, that it's taking away from me really bringing in that dough or really developing my abilities in the ways that I need to. You guys also have Mars and Cancer in the 3rd house opposing Pluto in the 9th house. So this to me is like this push and pull between being really focused and energized on your daily activities, the things that are in your immediate environment, which is Mars being in the 3rd house for you. Like Mars being in the 3rd house creates a lot of busyness in your day-to-day. So it's like, oh my God, I have so many errands to run. I have so many events I need to attend. I have so many people I need to talk to and things I need to sort out. And it's like, you can't really focus on that long-term vision when you're so busy. But Pluto in the 9th, this opposition is saying you need to put energy here. You need to put focus and attention here. So there can be a little bit of that push and pull. And that's why I think it can be really beneficial for you to have that support so that you can focus a lot on that bigger vision and not just on the small things. And I also feel like as you start to free up some of that energy, you're going to have a lot of drive and a lot of ambition in order to see these bigger goals through. And I feel like you're going to start believing that things are possible for you and that you're going to start seeing doors open that you've never seen open and that wouldn't have been possible to open if you were trying to do this on your own. So I'm getting this strong sense of community here, support here, but you having to be not stubborn and accept that. Because I know Taurus people can sometimes be a little bit stubborn about their vision of things or wanting things to be done in a certain way. Kind of like Virgo energy of like, this is how it is. This is always how it's been. And this is how it should be. And Gemini is like, nah, bitch. Like Gemini is the exact opposite. It's like, let's change this up. Like you can't get stuck in your own energy because you're prohibiting your own expansion without realizing it. So that's what I see for you guys, Taurus. If you're interested in learning more about astrology, about your gifts, your purpose, doing inner child and shadow work with a spiritual therapist, or doing online live breath work, with getting to know a community, having full and new moon gatherings. If you're interested in any of that stuff, then I highly suggest you join the North Node Society, which is linked down below, and I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Gemini. So my lovely Geminis, happy birthday to you guys. I'm also a Gemini, so what's up? How's it going? So for you guys, this new moon solar eclipse happening in your sign is going to be in your 1st house if you're a Gemini rising, or of course wherever your sun is, whichever house your sun is in if you are a sun Gemini. And this moon is going to be making a conjunction with Mercury, which is retrograde. So your planetary ruler is retrograde, which can bring about a little less clarity of thought. It can bring about the need to kind of revisit certain aspects of yourself. Oh, that's way too many cards. And to maybe go back to kind of, like looking at these aspects that maybe you wanted to change about yourself and like finally re-examining them or redoing things related to that. It could be making up your mind about certain things or revisiting old projects. It doesn't have to be just like one type of thing, but there is this element here of revisiting something that you kind of maybe started in the past. This moon is also making a square to Neptune in the 10th. So Neptune in the 10th house can indicate not full clarity around your life direction in terms of career, You are definitely, as Neptune is moving through here, which takes a while, you're definitely having to rely more on your intuition to make decisions in your career front than ever before. So, and I feel like you can attract and draw things in through a very strong feminine energy. So that's the feeling that I get from Neptune, is a lot about being open to change, surrendering, and being open to just receive and not trying to force your own hand. So this is like the larger lesson that's going on in your career with Neptune transiting the 10th house, is that there's a need to step into that feminine energy to receive. And maybe this is something you're already familiar with. So maybe you don't have a lot of lessons coming in around this, or maybe you have your hands on the wheel all the time and you really need to receive a little bit more. But there is some larger message of that happening. So that could kind of come up right now with the square to Neptune, is, you being open to just allowing things to just kind of go without controlling the direction necessarily in your career. Like acting when it feels good to act. You know, you don't want to have no masculine energy because you definitely need that. But there is some element here of not having the full vision of what's to come. And because of that, a lot of times people can get scared and they can hold on tight and want to control things. And come on. And what I'm getting here is that there needs to be a process of really trusting that you're being guided right now, and that it's okay to not have that clear direction. Okay, so yes, I love this because, again, this moon is happening in your first house. An eclipse happening in your first house, or even with your sun sign, it's a very big deal because it can change who you are as a person. So this means it can literally change like your physical body, like your appearance over time. Like maybe you want to change the way that you style your hair or color your hair, or you decide to change an aspect of your personality. Like, oh, I've always been way too much of a pushover. Like now I'm going to set boundaries. Or you change an aspect of what you're trying to go after in your career, or the way that you go after it, which I really feel like is a lot of what this is about. It's like I feel like you're changing some aspect of the way that you go after things in your life. I also pulled the Priestess. How are you being called to step up and lead? Yes. Do you notice how it says how? How are you leading? Because I feel like with the moon in the first, it's like that's very much about the sense of self. That's about leading. But it's asking, how do you lead? Are you leading from your feminine energy? Are you leading from a place of being open and surrendering? Or are you leading from a really masculine state? So I think that's like one message going on here. I see kind of a lot going on in the cards, so I do want to get to that. Because the thing about having an eclipse in the first house is like so much of your life can change. It doesn't have to be just one thing. And so I feel like there may be a lot more messages coming through because of that. Like there might be layers and layers. I pulled Moon in Virgo, which says order. Interesting. Okay, so let's talk about the rest of this. So first of all, you guys have Venus in Cancer in the second house, making a sextile to Uranus in the 12th house. So I'm definitely seeing you guys releasing some fears around scarcity mentality, around money, so it could be or in addition to. You could be releasing some insecurities and fears and kind of like childhood issues around your self-confidence and your belief in your skills. So I see two layers of this, like healing around money or healing around your confidence, your skills. So it's like you actually thinking that you're good at something or not. And I feel like because Venus is making a square to Chiron in the 11th house, I feel like your friends or the community that you're drawing in are going to be really important mirrors for this healing. So they're going to come in and it's going to challenge you to see yourself differently through their eyes. So it might feel very uncomfortable. You might be presented with people who either can bring up those old fears and challenge you, or people who go against those old fears or old insecurities and then force you to kind of change your perspective of yourself because of that. So yeah, I feel like that's going to be really positive. Like as you start to let things go, because I feel like Uranus in the 12th house is a lot about releasing. The change is releasing, is leaving things behind. And I don't feel like it's necessarily, I mean, because it's making a sextile to Venus and Cancer second, it could literally be like a cleansing energy of getting rid of some of those things that you have, like not accumulating as much stuff, and there being like a deeper healing that comes from that, or a greater sense of freedom or of happiness and security that comes from having less stuff. Alternatively, I feel like a lot of this is happening on an emotional level. So it's like you're releasing a lot of those fears, and that's helping you actually manifest more because you're lighter and you're more aligned with the vision that you're trying to create. Okay, let me just keep talking about what I see in the astrology, and then I'll go to the cards. You guys also have Mars and Cancer in the second house, and it's making an opposition to Pluto in the eighth. This is where I see there's this like push and pull between, I feel like, the haves and have-nots. That's what I get with the eighth house. The eighth house can be where we also experience some form of loss. Like it is the house of death. So the eighth and the 12th house have very similar type of meanings in that way. The eighth house is also the house of debt. So like losing money. And investments, because it's like you can not have that money, but it's put somewhere for the long term for it to grow. So it's like in the immediacy, you don't have that sense of security, but in the long term you do, but it's like there's a sense of risk with it. So yeah, this have and have nots with Mars and Cancer, the second house. I feel like you're motivated right now to get your money situation in order because Mars is there. I feel like you're getting more blessings because Venus is there. You're definitely feeling like you want to grow in confidence. You want to really work on developing your skills so you can make more money. And then with this opposition of Pluto in the eighth, there's like those insecurities, those fears that are like, well, what if you can't? What if this investment in yourself doesn't pay off? What if you're not good enough? And so these things are kind of at odds with each other in the sense that you're wanting to develop this confidence, but then there are things that are deep buried within you that make you doubt that. And I feel like that's why I pulled the Hermit card. This was the last card that I pulled, so I wanted to just mention that. I feel like you guys are on this journey because I'm seeing lots of cards of journey, and this is how the pile ends. And the Hermit is about shutting everything off, going within, and doing the deep internal work and being like trying to understand yourself, like trying to actually see where these insecurities are coming from so that you can let them go. So I feel like that is a huge part of this cycle. With this eclipse happening in the first house is you're finally releasing like some of those insecurities around money, around not being good enough. And it's going to allow you to feel so much lighter. Like this Hermit really almost owns nothing. Like, yeah, she has a computer, so she is growing her online business or doing her thing or whatever, but she doesn't have all this stuff. Like she doesn't have this huge bag packed. She just looks like she's in this clothing and just kind of has this lightness to her. Because once she's taken a break, she's not on this technology, she's going within, she doesn't have all this stuff around her. It's like, it's just her and her raw element. And she's able to feel a greater sense of freedom. She's able to lighten her load from her past. And you can create so much from that space. There is nothing more terrifying to society than somebody who doesn't need all this stuff. So it's like, this is a good time to ask maybe what you're attached to needing. If it's with Neptune in the 10th, do you need a sense of control in your career? Do you need people to tell you what to do? Do you need to know what the next step is? Do you need these affirmations to feel good? Do you need to have this literal stuff? Or can you let some of it go? Like, what do you need to achieve your dreams? Kind of going down to like the bare minimum and releasing the things that actually are weighing you down that you don't need. whether that's physical, mental, emotional, whether it's connections, it can be anything. It's like you are very strong in your sense of self. You are this leader. How do you want to lead, and what do you need to do that? Because you probably need a lot less than you think that you do. I just love this card. How do you want to lead? I feel like that's such a great question. And yeah, Pluto being in the 8th, making a sextile to Neptune in the 10th, to me is saying that as you start to move through some of these fears and insecurities and release these things that you don't need, your career is going to kind of naturally position itself towards success. But you have to take this time alone. You have to unplug. You have to take the energy to go within in order to allow yourself to align with that success. So I pulled the 7 of Pentacles. So this is about growing something long term. So I definitely feel like you guys are doing that. And I feel like a lot of this is honestly you. Like, yeah, I think you're probably growing something long term in your career and that's being affected. But really what I'm seeing with this card is you working on yourself as a person, because this eclipse is happening in your first house. I feel like you're really going on this inward journey with the 6 of Swords here. You're going on this inward journey to places that you've experienced in the past, because this is conjunct Mercury retrograde. So you're going down memory lane to your childhood, to past events that challenged you, that created some of these unnecessary beliefs, unnecessary behaviors, unnecessary accumulation of things in your life. And you're asking yourself, do I need this? Do I need to take this forward with me on my journey? Or can I cut the past? Can I cut all this away? And I feel like that's what the King of Swords actually is you using your intellect, your nature, to step up more in your power and cut the things away that you don't want anymore, that is actually keeping you from being this really decisive person. This person who like knows what they're worth, that's sitting on their throne, that can make decisions in an instant because they are sure of themselves. And even if they don't have all the clarity around where they're going at all times, they have this inner compass that's well attuned because they go within and clean up the cobwebs frequently. And so when it comes down to making decisions about your life direction, they can just cut with the sword and make that decision in an instant. And other people might look at you and be surprised and be like, whoa, Gemini just made this huge decision, this huge life-altering decision in the matter of minutes? What? But that's what you're doing at this eclipse, is you're really coming into your own power. And when you do that, you're able to make powerful decisions about your life without needing support or questions from other people. And you're really like becoming that leader of your own life. But you have to go in within to do that, right? So I feel like this is going to be huge. Eclipses in the first house are huge. So the long-term effects of this are going to be life-changing. There's not going to be eclipses in Gemini Sagittarius for another 9 years after this next month. So your life is going to change drastically in the next year, basically, because these eclipses will take place this month but have effect the whole year. So your life is going to change a lot in the next year. And you're going to step into this really strong place of leadership and decisiveness that Gemini should be. And that is not going to come around again. Like, the opportunity is not going to come around again for another 9 years. So you're going to have some major progress that's setting the stage for the next 9 years of your life. So that's pretty epic, pretty worth doing the internal work to actually get to that point. And I definitely hope that this reading helps you guys, because I know that this is such a big deal. So if you're interested in learning more about astrology, your life purpose, your gifts, your psyche, anything to do with your own chart, if you want to do inner child work and shadow work live with a coach, if you want to do live breathwork classes, if you want to do anything like that that sounds interesting to you, then I highly suggest you join the North Node Society, which is going to be linked down below. We're having live calls every single week. And yeah, can't wait to see you there. Bye. All right, up next we have Cancer Rising. So for you guys, this new moon eclipse that's happening, solar eclipse that's happening in Gemini, is taking place in your 12th house. and it's going to be conjunct Mercury retrograde. So I've been telling all the groups, I forgot to mention this in the intro, but Mercury retrograde is a lot about dealing with things that happened in the past that we need to possibly redo. And so that is possible for you guys, especially because this eclipse is happening in your 12th house, which has a lot to do with the past. I'm just looking at your cards. So I like to pull tarot cards to kind of go along with the message. So yeah, I feel like you guys are kind of making a decision about your life right now, or maybe not right now, but a lot of us with this conjunction with Mercury are needing to make decisions. And I feel like it's a decision based off of stuff from the past. So like, I think it's going to enter you into a new chapter, but I feel like it's based off of things from the past. I'm not really sure what I mean by that quite yet, but I think it will unfold in time. So I'm just going to leave it like that. So I did pull the Two of Swords, which is again about decision making, not having total clarity. Like this person's not even able to see because they're blindfolded. So there is some element here of the unknown, the unseen, especially with this Devil card as well. Like they're both chained up, but yet these people could get free. Like the chains are really loose. So there's some element here of you chaining yourself up and being in your own way and needing to make decisions around your life, but I feel like you're limiting yourself. Like you have limiting beliefs in a way. You're like, oh, I need to make this decision, but I can only do this. I'll only be good at this. It's like you're lacking awareness of how much your past, your childhood is actually conditioning you to believe that. When you can make different decisions, you can actually achieve a lot. And I do think you will. But I feel like you're in this inner dialogue. Like I pulled the Five of Wands, and this is a card of competition. You can see they're all fighting each other, like beating the shit out of each other. But because this is in the 12th house, I feel like all of this is internal. Like you guys are doing that within yourselves. And I feel like it's about something from the past. Like I feel like your mind, I see your mind like going, like with the Devil and the Five of Wands, it's just kind of like you running in circles in terms of your thoughts, but needing to make a decision. And because you keep basing things off of past experiences, I feel like you are limiting yourself. And I feel like the past experiences are creating this internal war, because I feel like part of you wants to grow and expand and has a belief that you can. Especially with this square to Neptune in the 9th, you intuitively feel like you're really growing. You intuitively feel like you're meant for so much more. Like your guides, your spirit guides are coming in and telling you and making you feel like this is your time to be expanding, to believe in yourself. But then there's this part of you from the past where you're revisiting these old thoughts, Mercury retrograde, these same old thoughts with yourself where you're like, well, I really feel like I can't because of all these things, all these other past instances, like all of these reasons why I can't do it. When in reality, that was the past, and like you're actually creating something new, but it can feel like you're not because you haven't seen the new results of it yet. So it's like you don't have proof that you can do it yet, and you're like, well, I don't have proof, and Mercury wants proof, and all I have is this pesky Neptune in the 9th house is saying, just trust me, you're meant for more, just trust me, you can do it. And you're like, bitch, that's not good enough. Look at all these past instances where I didn't do that, or I didn't achieve the thing I want, or where I wasn't the person I wanted to be, or where something went wrong, or where I lost something that I loved. Like, what makes me think that this is going to be any different this time? And I feel like a lot of this moon is about you releasing those fears and that internal war with yourself, because you're fighting yourself way unnecessarily, and you're putting yourself in these chains of limitation because you're like, the past, but the past doesn't define you right now. The past doesn't define your future. I just pulled Lemuria, creating heaven on earth. It's happening. I feel like this is the universe trying to tell you, like, this is actually different this time. This is actually happening. Like, you're actually going to make those changes. So it's okay to believe. It's okay to trust. Trust yourself. Trust the universe. With the moon in the 12th house, there's a need to trust the universe. That they have, that it has your back, and that you're not just out here all on your own trying to figure out everything in your own life. Like, you end with the Sun card. You have this child. I feel like this child is you. Like, you're coming out here with this innocence on this, the horse. It's the horse is like pink, but I think technically it's like white. So I feel like this is you. Like, this is you guys coming out with a fresh slate. Like, you're just born again. You have this white innocence, this purity, waving this red flag. What does that mean? Why does she have a red flag? I have no idea. Is it passion? I feel like red is passion. It's like you're out here with the sunflowers and the sun, and you're on this white horse, and you're like, yeah, like I can totally do this. I think I can believe in myself. I think I can start to see how things might work out. So that's the ultimate outcome, but I feel like the process before that is a lot bumpier because of your psychological state. I also pulled Jupiter in Leo, publicity. I feel like this is you guys receiving attention for things that you've done well. Like, finally receiving good feedback. And I think that's especially true because you guys have Venus moving through your first house. So Venus is in Cancer, and it's making a sextile to Uranus in the 11th house. This is the definition to me of receiving public recognition for the things that you've done well. People are finally seeing you for how great you are, for how amazing a person you are. But I feel like with this eclipse happening, it's like you don't believe it fully, but the world is starting to recognize you, and they're like, fuck, you're a badass. And you're like, oh no, but I'm not because of these things in the past. And it's like, no, you are an amazing person. You've changed a lot. This is a 5 card. You've changed a lot. So maybe you've done some things in the past that you're less proud of. You've been a person in the past that maybe you're less proud of. But with this 5 here, it's like you've done a lot of work on yourself to become the person that you want to be. And it's time to just give yourself some credit and believe that you can do this and accept the accolades and the support, the recognition, verbally, emotionally, physically, whatever support is coming in through the community, you are meant to receive that right now. You also have the Sun in Capricorn, achievement. You guys, this is what I'm saying. Like, things are moving forward. This is ending with the Sun card, having the Sun in Capricorn. Like, this is saying that you're definitely making waves. You're moving forward. But it's interesting because you have Venus, again, in your sign in the first house, making a square to Chiron in the 10th. So having Chiron in the 10th is creating some challenging situations every now and again throughout the years to come, throughout the years in the past, in terms of your career. So there are elements in your career where you're going to encounter people or events that kind of fluster you and challenge you emotionally. This is not like a long ongoing thing. Like, I feel like Chiron transits are really long. So they are in that 10th house for a while, bringing up like painful things that kind of trigger childhood wounding around often insecurity. But I feel like for everyone, it's like Chiron doesn't just sit there and create pain all the time. It's like randomly gets activated and then you have like an event occur. So Venus making a square to this, I feel like is saying that you're getting these accolades, you're getting the recognition, and now you're starting, or I hope you're going to start believing in yourself a little bit more. And that's going to help you level up in your career. Like, you're going to do some healing in your idea of yourself and your idea of your leadership ability in your career. It's like you're finally believing that you are making achievements. You're finally believing that you are making progress. But I do feel like this requires work, you guys. Like, this isn't going to just happen to you. The accolades are going to happen. The public recognition is just going to happen. You don't have to do anything for that. But I feel like the belief in yourself, that has to come from effort. That has to come from work from you. It's not just going to fall on you. You guys have Mars also in your first house in Cancer, and it's making an opposition to Pluto in the 7th. So with this one, it's like there's this back and forth happening between your leadership abilities, your concentration on yourself and your life path, and then your focus on others. I feel like there's a push and pull here. Like, do I want to focus on bettering myself, or do I want to focus on my relationship? Like, which one? They're both asking to have your attention. They're both asking to have your energy. And I feel like as you start to believe more in yourself, you're going to release some of this tension that's between them. And it's going to feel like both of these areas can work together and flow. But I feel like this work on yourself that you need to do is taking more energy because you're in your head. You're in this devil and 5 of wands. It's like you're in your own head. You're getting in your own way. But if you can just start to believe in yourself and be more optimistic about what you're capable of and what you're achieving right now, you're actually going to free up a lot of the energy that you need to also be able to put that into your healthy relationship with other people or with a partner. So it's like you're able to really focus on both if you can just heal this side of yourself where you are able to believe that you can do it. You are doing good. Otherwise, yeah, I feel like your relationship also can help you do that. Your relationship can support you in that transition into being more confident in yourself. So that's what I'm seeing for you guys, Cancer Risings. If you're interested in learning about astrology, I highly suggest checking out the North Node Society, which is linked down below. Have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Leo and Leo Rising. So for you guys, this new moon solar eclipse in Gemini is happening in your 11th house, conjunct Mercury retrograde. And I've been telling all the groups that I didn't mention in the intro, Mercury is retrograde, which has an element here of revisiting something in the past. For you guys, I feel like this is coming in around relationships. It could be friendships. And I feel like you guys are you're definitely revisiting some of your fears in connection with other people, or possibly your fears and your ability to achieve your dreams. And I say that because this moon is also making a square to Neptune in the 8th house. And when I think of the 8th house or the 12th house, I think a lot about fears. So not only do you have Neptune in the 8th, but you have Venus in the 12th. So I'm going to get into all of it, but it's basically a lot of mindset work is coming up for you guys to be released and to move through. And I just pulled the Queen of Wands card, which I feel like is super Leo energy. It's like the feminine Leo. Like she has a cat here already. Wands are fire energy, which is Leo. So it's a lot about confidence, emotional security coming from that confidence, being able to own your power, your leadership ability. And yeah, I like that because I feel like having an eclipse in the 11th house starts to really magnetize people to you. It's like the public, it's kind of like you're a star that just starts burning really bright and the public can't help but turn and look at you. It's that feeling that I'm getting. It doesn't have to be the public. It could be your friends. It could be some kind of community, or even your goals. Like you're magnetizing your goals and your dreams towards yourself, where you're making networks and connections that can help with higher ups or with people who have more resources that are going to come in and help you and give you things that you need. Interesting. I also pulled the Hierophant. The Hierophant has a lot to do with tradition, following the rules, doing things in a really like time, like the way that things have always been done, essentially is what I'm trying to say. You also got the Lovers, Gemini energy, which this eclipse is in Gemini. The Lovers can have a lot to do with obviously relationships with other people, but it can be about decisions. And the Queen of Pentacles. Wow, you guys are definitely manifesting. You got the Queen of Wands and the Queen of Pentacles. I'm really feeling like you guys have a lot of manifesting power right now. So I hope you're using it wisely. So I think some of you are really playing by the rules right now with this Hierophant card. And I don't know if you feel restricted by that. I am curious because the 11th house, more than just friendship, like I was saying, has to do with your like longer vision and of your goals. So like your aspirations. And sometimes with this square to Neptune in the 8th, it's like I feel like there's a fear of doing things differently. Yeah, like you've been really playing by the rules, and the 8th house is like fear or insecurity around not having the support that you need. Like, I don't mean like support, because I feel like you guys are getting a lot of support. It's not that I don't think you're supported emotionally or through friends. I feel like I'm getting this fixed energy with you guys. And that's what I got with Taurus too. And you guys are both fixed signs, so that makes sense. But this energy of like stubbornness, of like holding on to things, like doing it the traditional way, doing it the way that feels safe, that feels like secure, that you like, for example, if you like have a job that you don't like, or if you're stuck in this like position in your job, or you're like working under someone and you just aren't enjoying it, like you're not fulfilled by it, you know, like there's some element of this where you're maybe not feeling fulfillment by something, and it's like, but you're not willing to leave it behind with this Hierophant. Like there's some lack of safety in leaving it behind, so you're like, I'm just gonna play by the rules for now. And I feel like you're gonna reach an impasse. You're gonna reach a point where you need to decide, do I want to keep going down this path, or do I want to actually go for this different vision that I'm starting to get? So you start off with the Queen of Wands. So I feel like as a person, you are doing good in your life. Like I feel like you are really magnetic as a person. You have a lot of skills, you have a lot of passions, and you're working on developing those in your free time, or you are exploring those at least, and trusting your intuition. But this Hierophant here, I feel like it's like, okay, I have all these passions, but I'm just going to continue playing by the rules because I'm not ready to go out on my own. Oh, Warrior Woman, have you answered your deepest calling? That's what I'm saying, you guys. Like, I feel like the universe is saying with this Hierophant card that you have your passion. Like, okay, the Queen of Wands, you have your passions. I think you're getting a lot of clarity around what you're good at and what you want. With this eclipse happening in 11th house, I feel like it's you guys having more clarity around coming in around what you want those long-term goals to be, like what you're aspiring towards, what would make you feel good. But then the Hierophant there is saying like, I'm a little bit too scared to go out on a limb and take the risk of making a change in my life. And I feel like that's what the square to Neptune is. It's like, I'm scared of the insecurity. Like I'm scared of the debt I could go into if I quit my job, or I'm scared of losing this relationship, or being vulnerable in a relationship and losing my sense of security in that way. Like there is some element here of like putting yourself at risk, whether emotionally, whether it's physically with finances. Like there's some element of risk here that I feel like you're averse to. Like you're like, just the Hierophant, like I'm just gonna worry about that later. And I feel like this eclipse happening in your 11th house is kind of activating this and saying that at some point you're going to have a decision to make, where you're going to have to put yourself out there a little bit more, or you're going to have to take a risk if you want to go after your true calling, or whatever it is that you're really feeling passionate about. It's like the clarity around the passion is coming in, and at some point, I don't know when this is going to be, you're going to have to make a definitive decision to change things, and that's going to feel a little bit scary. But after it comes the Queen of Pentacles. So I actually feel like you guys are going to be way more financially successful in this career. I mean, it could be slow, like it doesn't have to be immediate, but and it doesn't even have to be a career. It could be a relationship, it could be whatever. But whatever you're bringing in is some sort of really strong manifestation where you're going to feel very independent, and like you're actually doing stuff that you're excited about. Like it's the Queen of Wands and the Queen of Pentacles, like on the outside. So you're really excited about it, and you're actually like getting money from it and being like a boss ass bitch. And if it's not money, it can be like family, security, like emotional security. You're cultivating something right now. So if you make that decision to, when it feels right for you to step out of the Hierophant, to step out of the easy, or not easy, but the safe choice, I feel like that will really benefit you guys. Yeah, I pulled the Sun and Aries card. That's exactly what that is. It says assertion, but to me, the Sun in Aries is not just assertion, but you being independent, you going off on your own. One of the biggest signs that I see in people who work for themselves is Aries, and the Sun is about our life purpose. So some of you guys are actually meant to move into some kind of purpose that is more self-employed, and I'm getting the hesitation from that. Like I feel like you guys don't want that, or you're not ready for that yet. So I feel like it might not be yet. Because again, these eclipse energies have like 6 months where they could take place, or events can take place. So I feel like it's you like I feel like it's more insight coming in around this, but maybe not making the final decision for this yet. But at some point you're going to be faced with this decision where it's going to be like, do you want to work for yourself or not? Like, do you want to quit this job or not? Do you want to go after this relationship and assert your boundaries, or do you not? Because you also have the moon in Libra, which is companionship. So this could equally be about relationships. And it could be about you needing to be more assertive, more aggressive in your relationships, going after the people that you want. Don't let those people just slide on by. Like, you're the Queen of Wands, you're the Queen of Pentacles. You have so much to offer. And it's about really like demanding what you want out of life and out of others. That sounds really aggressive. I don't mean it in this aggressive way. I just mean like, you deserve it. You're an awesome person. So go get what you want. Go get what you want. Stop playing by the rules. Stop playing it safe. Send that text message. Join that community. Make those new friends. Go after that business idea that you want to start. Like, there is some element here of you maybe need to break out of your comfort zone. You guys have Venus and Cancer in the 12th house, making a sextile to Uranus in the 10th. Yes, this is exactly what I'm saying. Because wherever we're having Uranus, we are receiving positive change in that area of our life. This is in your career. You guys are getting positive change in your career through letting something go. Because Venus and Cancer in the 12th house is letting something go. A lot of it is emotional. So I feel like you're letting go of emotional security in a way, like needing to have emotional security to take this step. And it might challenge you to be optimistic because this Venus is making a square to Chiron in the 9th. It might challenge you, it might bring up a lot of fears around if it's possible for you. I feel like that's definitely going to happen, whatever it is you're trying to go after. But I think whatever it is, it's going to really alter the life path because it's, again, making a sextile to Uranus in the 10th. So I do feel like it's career related for most of you, but I do think there are relationships and partnerships and friendships involved in this. And you guys have Mars and Cancer in the 12th house too, opposing Pluto in the 6th house. So I feel like this is you guys having this push and pull between, like, okay, when I think of 12th house, I think of rest. I think of inaction. And it's interesting to have Mars there because Mars is a planet of action and it's in the 12th house of rest. And then Pluto in the 6th house is like just our daily routines, our daily activities that we do. And it's actually working as a subordinate for other people and other people's companies. So I feel like there is this push and pull here of you on one hand just being busy doing your daily activities, working for someone, and then kind of like just not taking action on like the other things that you want. It's like, I feel like I'm interpreting this differently than the other people I did for Mars opposite Pluto. And so that's why I'm like pausing to think, but I am just going to interpret it that way because that's what I'm getting from this. Like, I feel like you guys are putting more energy and focus into developing other people's goals and wishes and not your own. And Mars is like, what the hell, bro? What the hell? Like, let's do something for ourselves. Sun and Aries, this is Mars energy. It's assertion. Let's go out and do something for ourselves. Let's go out and make this happen. I have my own dreams. I'm just helping other people with theirs. And this Pluto is also making a sextile to Neptune in the 8th. So I feel like as you start to release some of these fears around not having what you need, around not having enough money, around not having enough support, or whatever those are, or even being able to do it, like even having the necessary skills. I feel like as you start to release those, you're going to start incorporating more elements into your daily routine that are actually moving you towards your goals. So I'm not getting the sense that you're meant to just up and quit your job if you're in a job, but I am getting the sense that some of you are in a job, not fully satisfied, doing something else for someone's dreams and like wanting to do your own thing. So if that's resonating for you, then I don't feel like you're meant to just quit right away. I don't get that feeling, but with the Hierophant and the Lovers card, I feel like at some point you're going to be presented with an opportunity to do that, or you're going to feel that internal buildup, the emotional buildup of like, I need to decide. But in the meantime, I feel like you are meant to continue to work, give effort into this. You have put on the sixth house, like put effort into really helping your job the best that you can. But at the same time, the sixth house is all about what we're doing every single day. So ask yourself, am I doing stuff every single day that's also for me? So if you're doing this job, like still starting to incorporate some things that are for you and for your future. Yeah. You guys also could have some really radical changes in like your friendship group. Like I don't feel like this just has to be career, but because there's a sextile between Venus and Uranus in the 10th house, I definitely am getting a lot of career energy. But again, I do get this relationship element. I kind of feel like there's two different things going on. Two layers. Like maybe it's even time to revisit some people from the past in terms of friends and address maybe some shadows that came up in those relationships so that you can feel like you're moving forward in a really clear, strong way. And it's like standing up for yourself, like asserting your boundaries and like what you need out of the relationship, or going after what you want and taking what you want in terms of that relationship. If it's someone that you've had your eye on for a while and you're just like, you know, I should have told them this. I should have been honest with them about this. Then do that. Or if you are angry about something and you're like, I should have been honest with them about them doing this to me. Like this hurt. Then do that. I definitely feel like revelations are going to come in through your relationships, but also support and forward movement for your career as well. So that's what I'm seeing for you guys, Leo, Rising, and Sun. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you're interested in learning more about your purpose, your gifts, doing shadow work, breath work, yoga, so much stuff, and you really want to deep dive into astrology in your own chart, if any of those things sound interesting to you, then I highly suggest joining the North Node Society, which is now open, and you can do so using the link below. I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Virgo Rising and Sun. So for Virgo Rising, this new moon in Gemini, the eclipse that's happening, the solar eclipse, is going to take place in your 10th house of career. Wow. So this is going to be a big one for career. It's also conjunct Mercury retrograde. So you guys could be having some like flashbacks from the past in terms of your career. Maybe revisiting something that you've already started to work on and pursuing that further. Or changing your mind about some things in your career that you've already kind of thought that you've decided. But I'm getting the sense of like with Mercury being retrograde that there is a revisiting, redoing of something in terms of your career and relationships because of the square with Neptune in the 7th house. So let's see what this looks like for you guys. So yeah, I mean, having an eclipse in the 10th house is crazy. Last time I had an eclipse in my 10th house axis, I quit what I had been doing for like 7 years and became an astrologer. So have fun with that, you guys. You're going to have a lot of realizations coming in about your career and possibly about some things that you need to change in yourself in order to make this happen, or in your relationships in order to make this come to life. Yeah, the square to Neptune the 7th is interesting. Idealism. Okay. I pulled the Sun in Aquarius card. It says idealism. Let me pull one more. Yeah. I wonder what the square to Neptune the 7th is, because there is this, okay, so when there's a square like this, it's connecting your area of your career and the changes happening there with changes happening in your relationship. Okay, no other cards are coming out. This is fine. So I wonder if you guys are like consciously making changes to your relationship in order to support your career. Like drawing in certain clients to you. All right, wow, a lot came out here. You're already doing it. You got the you're already doing it card. Okay, you know what that gives me with this Mercury retrograde is that you are already kind of doing what you want to do. Like in terms of your career, you might feel like during this eclipse season, since there's so many changes coming in your career, you might have the thought of like new things coming in, but with Mercury retrograde, I'm sensing that it's not new stuff. I feel like this is something you've already been doing. Like when I decided to do astrology, I hadn't been doing astrology. Like I had been doing just like watching a bunch of videos, but I hadn't been studying it. I hadn't been doing it for friends. It's not like it's something I'd been doing all along and then just decided to do for my career. And because this is Mercury retrograde, I'm getting the feeling that like the things that do come in terms of you starting to do in your career, or like moving more to the forefront in terms of your career, I feel like those things are going to be stuff that you've already done in the past, like things that you already know that you like, that you already know that you enjoy. It's almost like, I feel like it's not going to be this, like eclipses can make things kind of come out of left field, but I feel like for you guys, it's going to be a little bit less out of left field in the sense that you've already been developing these skills. Like these are things that you know how to do. And maybe you're not like at the full capacity you need to be to like do them in the best possible way. But I am getting the feeling that like the cards have already been on the table. And so it's not just like coming out of nowhere in the sense that you're just like waking up one day and wanting a totally different thing for your life. Like you might not have seen these things in this way before, and the eclipse might like bring them to the forefront and you're like, oh, how did I not realize like that's what I should do? But I feel like they were already there with Mercury retrograde and with this card coming out. I also pulled a deep replenishment, retreat, rest, and be held. So you don't really have anything transiting your 12th house that I wrote down. So normally when I see stuff in the 12th house, it's like a period of rest. So I feel like this deep replenishment, I feel like you're going to have a lot of changes in activity, and the replenishment is what you need to kind of direct you. So when I made those changes to my career and I moved into astrology, I really didn't know I was going to do astrology at first. I kind of just was following my interests, and I spent an insane amount of time alone, journaling, meditating, and pulling cards. And I mean like a lot of time pulling cards. And it helped me tremendously. It's like I needed that time by myself to really gain clarity around what these new things meant. So maybe some of these things that are going to come up from the past, you won't actually have, like you need to create the space to recognize them. Like insights can't come in if we don't create space for them to come in. If we're always busy, if we're always going, or always moving, you won't have the ability to recognize things when they come in as easily, or process them and get a deeper, fuller understanding of how that's meant to be applied into your life. So this replenishment card, I feel like, is saying eclipses are going to change a lot within you and your life path, and it's going to really shake you to your core in a lot of ways, in a good way. And anytime that happens, anytime we have this deep growth happening, we also need deep replenishment happening, where we're giving our soul the rest it needs to recuperate from these changes. I also pulled align your life. What is not aligned or needs to change? So whenever an eclipse occurs in the 10th house, it's like a sword. Like, do you see how this person's like all cut up into little slivers? That's what you're doing with your life. Like, you are taking your sword and cutting away the things that aren't actually interesting to you anymore, that aren't helping you grow anymore, that don't feel like they're pushing you forward in your life. You also have leap. You go first, the universe will catch you. That's what I'm saying. Like any eclipse happening in the 10th house, major career changes are happening, and it's all a leap of faith. Like eclipses require an intense amount of trust. And I think that's why deep replenishment is so important, because it's really hard to trust in the universe when you're really tired. You can get really cynical, lose faith when you're tired. You can feel like a lot is happening. So you're going to be asked to take a leap of faith during this eclipse cycle over these next 6 months in your career. And it's saying in order to do that, you really need to cut away the things that don't feel good. You really need to rest and just trust that you're going to be held once you do leap. So I'm just so interested in this square to Neptune. I feel like it's interesting because I have this Knight of Cups card ending the reading here. And Knight of Cups, like this person is really slowly, carefully walking on the horse with this cup, this emotional offering in her hand, going towards that person she loves. So slow and steady, trying not to spill it. You know, it's like I feel like this is like this carefulness is what I'm getting here. Like I can't mess this up with like this aspect of the square to Neptune in the 7th house. Like I don't know if like, yeah, it's like I feel like maybe you guys are scared to mess something up in your relationship, or maybe the other person is scared to mess something up with you. Like I'm getting this sense of like carefulness around people's like hearts and emotions, like being very sensitive to other people's needs, very careful with them. But I guess I'm not quite sure yet how that plays into your career, but your relationships are going to be very important in your career at this time because of this square that's happening. So let me revisit that. You guys also have Venus and Cancer in the 11th house making a sextile to Uranus in the 9th house. So this is really positive energy. Venus in the 11th house is great for attracting more network connections, more friendships, to feel really social and to feel like you're very comfortable in these different social atmospheres. And I feel like you guys are becoming more idealistic about the future that's coming because of this sextile to Uranus in the 9th. It's like you're starting to go after these things and make new connections and friends, and it's starting to feel really good. It's like, wow, I can do this. Like, this is awesome. Like, the future feels so much brighter. Even though I'm not quite sure everything that's unfolding, it feels good. It feels good. And I think that's why I pulled the Sun in Aquarius idealism card. It's like you're finally getting your idealism back and your faith in humanity and your life direction. And it just makes life a lot more fun. Venus is also making a square to Chiron in the 8th house. So I feel like you do have some fears kind of coming up as you're stepping into this. So even while you're feeling optimistic and idealistic, there's still part of you that's like insecure, that needs to open up to new levels of vulnerability in your career and in your relationships to achieve the success that you want. And that brings up fear. Like, if you're vulnerable, it feels like there's a risk there. Like, can I get hurt if I invest a lot of time into this? Or can I get hurt if I put my trust in these people or do these new changes? And of course you can, but I feel like you're not going to. And I think your friends and your community is going to offer a lot of support to help you move past any insecurities. So really lean on your friends and talk to them at this time, because I feel like they're going to help you a lot. You guys also have Mars and Cancer in the 11th house opposing Pluto in the 5th house. So I feel like there's an element here of you really wanting to. It's interesting because I feel like I've been interpreting the Mars and Pluto thing a little bit different for some of the groups. So for you guys, I feel like it's less of this like push and pull, or maybe it is a little bit. Like, okay, so what I'm seeing with Mars in the 11th house, there could be this desire to really make your dreams happen. Like, you have your vision is getting clearer and you want to take those steps. You want to meet those friends who are going to help you put you on that path. I feel like it's a very social energy. So is Pluto in the 5th house. There's an intense social interaction that's coming there. But there may be this kind of, with Pluto in the 5th, there might be like a little bit of a distraction, a little bit. I feel like both are conducive to having social connections. Like Mars and Cancer in the 11th and Pluto in the 5th, like you're able to really magnetize people to you right now. And like socially and relationships, or even romantically, like those things are all kind of falling into place in terms of you're having like a lot of drive and energy to go after those things, and they're also magnetized to come towards you. However, I do feel like the 11th house has to do with a lot of our long-term visions, our long-term goals, whereas the 5th house is our short-term gratification and pleasure. So there could be this dichotomy, this push and pull between, well, what do I want to do in terms of how I use my resources and my time? How much time do I want to spend with my partner and like friends and like going out and having fun and like just doing what I want? And how much time do I want to spend on these life goals that I'm starting to get more clarity on with this eclipse in my 10th house? So this could be like an issue at this time that you're really like an undercurrent that's kind of going on with this. It's like I have a lot of drive and a lot of passion and energy for having fun, for connecting with people, for the pleasures of life. But at the same time, I also kind of feel like I might be overindulging sometimes, and I'm trying to figure out that balance between the two. And Pluto is making a sextile to Neptune the 7th. So there could be this element here of like enjoying the pleasures of your relationship a lot. I feel like this is really positive for relationships. Like you having like a good sex life right now, honestly. Or you feeling like your friends are really there for you and you guys are able to just have a lot of fun and it's not heavy or hard. It's like, it's just nice. It's just good. But yeah, just being mindful of like where you're directing your energy so that you are manifesting the things that you want and not getting too distracted. I also pulled the Three of Wands. The Three of Wands. Okay, so you notice how she's like looking out at the water. She's got her staff and she's like looking out, kind of assessing the ground, knowing that she has a lot more to achieve. And there is this feeling of like expansion. Like I feel like she's looking out on these boats, and I do kind of get the feeling that like she owns these boats. And she's looking out like, okay, what other things do I want to conquer? How else do I want to expand? What other boats do I want to get? I want to be involved in more trade, in more travel, in more adventure. And I feel like the Eight of Cups is the same thing. I feel like the Eight of Cups is very similar. Like she's going on a journey, on an adventure. But the difference here with the Eight of Cups is that she's leaving some emotional things behind. Some emotional connections. It's like a little bit of a sacrifice in a way. Like all these cups are things that she's emotionally invested in. She has her back on them and she's taking her staff and walking into the mountains. So I feel like you guys are wondering how else you can expand. And what comes after that is the realization that in order to expand, you have to leave something behind that you actually might kind of like. And I wonder if that has anything to do with your social life, with all this energy in the 11th house and the 5th house. It's like, is there some element of sacrifice there that you have to make in your social sphere to grow and challenge yourself? Like, do you need to put more time into your career than your friend circle? I mean, I don't know. There is some element here of like leaving something behind though. And maybe it's just like not always saying yes to plans that seem really fun that you kind of want to go to because you feel like you could be spending that time in a really productive way and that's going to benefit you long term. I also pulled the Page of Wands. So it's like somebody really enthusiastic about new ideas, but just getting started. And then after that is the Knight of Cups. Again, this person like holding on to that one thing so carefully, like don't let it go, don't let it spill. So I feel like this is you starting something new, honestly. Like you've done so much already with your life. You really are doing well. And that's why you have the Three of Wands. You're like, how can I do better? How can I expand more? Like I've already done a lot, but how can I expand more? The Eight of Cups is like, all right, I have to leave this behind if I want to start something new and expand more and challenge myself in a new way. Then you have the Page of Wands, which is saying, all right, I've got my new exciting thing. I have this idea. Like I've got this thing that I really am excited about. And I feel like then it's the Knight of Cups. You're like slowly moving towards what feels good, but you're being really careful with it. Like I feel like there's a little bit of fear around it. Like, oh, I don't want to spill this. Like I don't want to hurt this relationship. I don't want to hurt this career move or this passion project. It's like, I just want it to really work out. So you're like being extra careful with it. Yeah. And I feel like your relationships are here to support you. Like the square to Neptune, even though a square hurts and is not like the best, there could be the challenge of like idealism in your relationship kind of getting in your way, or like a lack of clarity in your relationship getting in the way of your career. I mean, that's a possibility. Yeah, so just be mindful of that. Sorry, I just feel like I just don't know what this square to Neptune fully means yet. Let me pull some cards on it. Normally I don't do this, but I really want to for you guys. What does this square to Neptune in the 7th house mean for Virgo risings? I feel like that one has come out. 8 of Swords. What does this square mean? The Magician. What? Oh. 4 of Wands. Wow, that's really good. King of Pentacles. Okay, I feel like these came out in 2 separate things. Okay, I feel like there is some interaction going on here between your relationship and your career. And I feel like it's kind of giving you anxiety a little bit with this 8 of Swords. Like, this person's pretty unclear about what's going on. Their eyes are closed and they have all these swords, which is stressful. So, like, they're not certain about something and it's, like, kind of stressing them out. I feel like there's some lack of clarity around your relationship because Neptune is there. And that is, like, causing stress. And that's somehow influenced by or correlated to your career changes. But I feel like maybe it's like, okay, if I step into this Magician card, if I start manifesting my dream life and my dream career, how is that going to affect my relationships? How is that going to affect my, like, loved ones? And maybe that's, like, where some of the anxiety is coming in or some of the lack of clarity is coming in. Like, how do they fit into this picture now of my new life that I'm creating for myself? Like, I'm stepping up as a leader in my life and I'm caring for something that is so important to me. And maybe that will take away from my relationship. Or maybe my relationship needs to step up in a different way to support me. And I just don't know how that's going to look. And that gives me a little anxiety. But I did pull the 4 of Wands and the King of Pentacles. So I do feel like this person is going to step up, or these friendships are going to step up. They're very supportive of you. Both of these are grounding, supportive energies. They're stable. You can lean on them. You can grow with them. This is the marriage card. This is the abundance card. So I feel like you can create this together. I think maybe you don't see quite how yet, and that's okay. So yeah, that's what I'm getting for you guys, Virgo Rising. I hope that resonates. I hope that you have enjoyed this. And if you're interested in learning more about astrology, reading your own birth chart, finding out what your purpose and your gifts are, which I think could be very beneficial for you guys going through all these eclipses in your 10th house, then I highly suggest you guys joining the North Node Society, which is linked down below. I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Libra Rising. So for you guys, this new moon solar eclipse in Gemini is happening in your 9th house, and it is conjunct Mercury retrograde. And that's something I didn't mention in the intro, was the fact that Mercury was retrograde, which can indicate a need to go back and revise something. So I do feel like this eclipse is bringing about a new beginning, but a new beginning with something that we've already started, or a new beginning with something that is somehow connected to the past, or there's some element that needs to be addressed in the past before we can have this new beginning. And I do feel like, especially for you guys, since it's along the 3rd and the 9th axis, or actually, sorry, it's just in the 9th house. But especially for you guys in the 9th house, which is Sagittarius energy and is very much the mental body, along with Gemini, along with Mercury. I feel like it's possible that you guys could have some decisions that you need to make, or you need to modify some of your existing beliefs. And I definitely feel like there's a need for you to take some time out. That's something that I got with the last moon, and something that I'm getting with this one as well for Libra risings, is definitely this need to have a little bit of rest and recuperation and time alone in order to kind of process some of the things that are going on. Because, yeah, I mean, there's some big shifts in mindset happening for you guys. Not a lot of cards are falling out, so I'm just going to pull some to go along with this. Let's see. So, and then, okay. Interesting. Yeah. So I pulled the High Priestess card, and this is interesting to me because the ninth house is actually the house that's associated with astrology, and it's the one that links us most with God. Like the 12th house is where we are linked with the spirit world, and our body sort of dissolves into the unconscious. But the ninth house is where we have more of our feet on the earthly realm while still being connected to God, if that makes sense. So like there's some element here of you guys being, I feel like this is like you guys being almost like more psychic than usual, more intuitive than usual, and possibly developing some gifts in these areas. Because, again, because the ninth house is linked to trusting your intuition and developing that ability to communicate with God, or with spirit, or whatever you believe in. Deep replenishment, retreat, rest, be held. Yeah, exactly. I definitely am getting this sense for you guys that there's a need to rest at this time. I'm not sure if this is focusing. But yeah, I think whenever you're getting more psychic downloads and you're becoming more intuitive and in touch, it's very important to rest because you're actually processing a lot underneath the surface of things. And I think just in general, I'm just going to pull these two as well. And just in general, you can't assimilate new information if you're always going, right? So just like our body digests information, we have to take the time to chew it, and the stomach has to take the time to break it down with the acid. It's the same thing. We're receiving new information, and we need to really break it down, digest it, and integrate it to be able to use it. And the only way to do that is to have enough time in rest mode in order to reflect. So that's just something I wanted to say. I also pulled the Sun and Sagittarius card, which is interesting because the eclipses that are going on are between the Gemini and Sagittarius axis. So this is going to be stimulated for all of us over the course of this next month. And because this moon is landing in your ninth house, this is the house of Sagittarius, it's kind of bringing about more Sagittarian energy to this. So I feel like it's just drawing my attention to the fact that you guys might have more ninth house experiences related to teaching. It's possible you could be working with an intuitive mentor at this time, or you kind of find someone whose teachings you align with and you want to study underneath them. It's possible that you could be that teacher if you're not the student. Oftentimes the ninth house is like this energy of a lifelong student, somebody who is always trying to learn and grow and expand as a person. And I feel like that can kind of feed into you downloading more spiritual gifts as well, because you're just taking care of yourself and actually trying to, like, your spiritual gifts start to come in and develop more as you are also working on yourself as a person. That's the energy I get. Like, you're starting to learn about the things that you really enjoy. You're starting to connect with teachers and like-minded people that have a lot to share with you, a lot of wisdom to share with you. And I feel like because of that personal growth that's happening with you following your interests, you're also starting to come into more of this kind of strong, intuitive sense of self. I feel like you guys already are intuitive, but it's like you're moving up the ladder, because there's always a deepening that can happen with these types of things. And there is a square that's happening with this moon to Neptune in the 6th. So when I think about the 6th house and even Neptune in the 6th house, there can be this kind of sacrificial energy that comes from these two combinations together, because Neptune can kind of represent a sort of martyrdom, while the 6th house can represent being almost like a servant to somebody else. So these energies mixing together is giving me the feeling that you're working very hard to nurture and help other people. And I feel like this square is saying that it's almost like you need to make a change in how you balance this. So, squares can indicate friction or tension. So basically, I feel like you could have been overly nurturing other people, and maybe it's time to just try to create a greater balance to grow within yourself. If you're always taking care of people, you don't really have a lot of extra energy to dedicate to expanding to the next level, the next version of yourself. So I feel like there needs to be a little bit of tweaking in your day or in your routine in order to be able to actually do this. I pulled the Sun and Cancer card, and that's the feeling that I'm getting from this, that the Cancer is the nurturing and the focus is on the nurturing. But I also pulled the Sun in Sagittarius, which is about personal growth and focusing on yourself. So I just feel like there needs to be a nice balance. And I also pulled the Moon in Libra card, which is literally about balance, emotional balance, and finding things that help you kind of get your equilibrium in life. So I am definitely getting the sense that you guys are very giving, especially as Libra risings. You're very emotionally supportive of other people, and it's just about kind of finding a nice balance between giving and receiving, giving and taking, giving and dedicating time and energy to yourself versus others. You guys are also doing well at this time because you have Venus moving through your 10th house in Cancer. So this is amazing in terms of receiving more recognition and more attention in your career, and actually getting some possible financial rewards or some kind of recognition from people that you enjoy in the public or your kind of authority figures in your life, just kind of giving you a pat on the back and saying that, you know, you've done a good job. And this Venus is also making a sextile to Uranus in the 8th house. So the 8th house is where we accumulate debts or where we have investments. So I feel like this advancement in your career is helping you either to get rid of existing debts or to invest more in yourself or in your personal growth, in something that you enjoy. It could be anything that you want to invest in, honestly. But I am getting the sense here that you're going to start to sort of expand in your career, and over time that's going to allow you to create these investments. And it can be kind of also unexpected things that you're able to release in terms of fears and insecurities around your career, because you're finally starting to get recognition and see advancement. So it's like you're finally starting to feel a little bit more relief in terms of your self-confidence and your ability to actually do a lot of these things that you are excited about and want to do. You guys also have Venus making a square to Chiron in the 7th house. So I feel like while things are really kind of expanding in your career, it's interesting your relationship with other people, especially your partner, but this could even be clients. There needs to possibly be some adjustments there. There needs to be possibly some healing there. Or maybe you moving up in your career is going to allow you to do this, but there's has to be a little bit of a change. It could be a change in kind of what you're dedicating your time to. It could be a change in the way that you interact with those people, your clients or your partner. There needs to be maybe a little bit extra attention put into these areas to find the right changes and right balance between your career and your close relationships or your work contracts with people. You guys also have Mars in Cancer in the 10th house, which is making an opposition to Pluto in the 4th. This is also giving me that work-life balance kind of duo where in any opposition, there's going to be this push and pull happening. So with Pluto in the 4th, there is this deeper need to tend to your inner garden, to tend to your emotional needs, to nest, to literally create a home for yourself, to work on what makes you feel stable and secure within yourself throughout your day. And then with Mars and Cancer in the 10th house, there's this need for external expression, to be out in the world, to go and put energy into your career and make networking connections. So there's this element of being seen versus being internal. And that's really what I'm getting, because I pulled the High Priestess and the Hermit card. Both of these cards give me very internal, resting, taking time for your deeper self. And I feel like that's going to be just a key theme that's coming up right now, is this balance between pushing out yourself or putting out stuff into the world and producing things versus self-care, maintenance, home life, and that type of thing. So I think that's going to be really important. Also, I feel like you're going to be really driven in your career. You're going to have energy for both. It's just about balancing the two to make sure that you are going to get your needs met. Pluto is also making a sextile to Neptune in the 6th. So I feel like the more that you kind of concentrate on actually taking care of yourself and pursuing your own needs, and just, I feel like resting is going to be really important. Resting and receiving these downloads, being very open to your intuition and meditation and things like that. The more that you're working on that intrinsic side of yourself, you are going to also develop more skills, more tools, and more power to actually give back and nurture and help people on an emotional level. It's almost like you have to fill your cup before you can fill somebody else's, and that's the feeling that I'm getting here. And that kind of reminds me of this Knight of Cups card. This person is walking with a cup very carefully on a horse, and they're trying so hard not to spill it, and this is their offering of love. And I feel like this is you right now, and there's a need to fill your own cup, because I pulled the Hermit and the High Priestess, which is the internal energy, and this was before this. So I feel like you need to go within, and it's possible that the couple weeks surrounding this eclipse, you might feel even more of a need to go within than usual. So really follow that. And then after that period, you will have the ability and the energy to then externalize this and offer this cup to other people. So you'll have the emotional bandwidth to take on kind of like your client's energy, or energy from your relationships, or wherever it's coming in, or just anywhere in your workplace. You're going to have more of a capacity to be able to withstand the things that the ups and downs of other people's energy, because you will have already taken care of balancing yours throughout time. I also pulled the Page of Wands for you guys. So I feel like this is not only going to give you energy to give back, which is Neptune in the 6th house, but also to put towards your career, towards your ambitions. And this is Mars in the 10th. So, and Venus in the 10th, you guys starting projects, getting excited. This is new beginnings in terms of career. So, and I don't feel like it's just career. I just think you're going to have a lot of energy in that area and starting to receive a little bit more in that area. But the new beginnings I really see happening in the 9th house, because that's where this eclipse is taking place. And the 9th house, again, is this house of personal development and divine downloads and intuition. So I feel like you guys are really going to start a new beginning in terms of maybe what you study, or receiving new gifts, or what you're teaching, some element of personal development. That, I think, is where the new beginning's happening, and it's going to allow you to give back a lot more to yourself and to others. So that's what I'm seeing for you guys, Libra Rising. If you enjoyed this, then please like and comment down below. And if you're interested in learning more about astrology, if you're interested in doing live breathwork classes and doing yoga and being coached by a spiritual therapist every month, then definitely sign up for the North Node Society, which is linked down below. There's a whole astrology course there, and it's very, very valuable. So I can't wait to see you guys there, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next you have Scorpio Rising. So for you guys, this new moon solar eclipse that's happening in Gemini is going to happen in your 8th house, which is all about investments. It's all about joint finances, your sex life with your partner, vulnerability. It's about debt. It's about insecurities. It's about death, inheritance. So this one is kind of a really big house where a lot happens. So you have some new beginning happening in one of those areas of your life, but I'm going to get more into the details and kind of get what I feel like this message might mean for you guys. Okay, yeah, I pulled the 5 of Pentacles. So immediately what I'm getting is there is some feeling of lack here, which can be very common in the 8th house. As I mentioned, the 8th house is one of debt. So there can be this feeling of either emotional lack, because the 8th house is also insecurity, or like physical monetary lack. I pulled the 10 of Swords, which represents an ending of a cycle, which is awesome. It's always really exciting to know, even though it looks really scary, and endings are often scary for people. Oh my gosh, another card of ending. Okay, so we got the 6 of Pentacles, which this is about equal giving and receiving, finally getting those blessings that you've been giving to people, and like you having enough to give to others. So that's really common I think it's common in soulmate connections, if I'm not incorrect. And then I have the Death card here for you guys, which is that other ending card. So you guys, it looks like you're having some big endings. I did mention death. The 8th house is about death, but it doesn't have to be a death of a loved one. It can be a death of something more metaphorical or symbolic in your life. And I also pulled the Warrior Woman card. Have you answered your deepest calling? And leap, you go first, the universe will catch you. Okay, so we have a lot here around following your passion and your purpose and taking a leap of faith. And I feel like that is often when we can have a lot of trigger wounds coming up, because it's a lot of trust, a lot of faith, a lot of surrendering happening when we're taking these leaps of faith. And when that does have to happen, we typically are encountered with our shadow self, the one that's living in fear, the one that wants to keep us safe and controlled, even if it's in a restricted manner. And whenever we have a moon happening in the 8th house, that's the feeling that I get, is that there's like some shadows coming to light typically. It's not always the case, but I really get that feeling with this. If you are taking a leap of faith, and with these 2 ending cards and these 5 of Pentacles, I feel like you guys are moving through a lot of this kind of denser energy. I do feel like you guys probably have, at least at the start of this, are definitely feeling this 5 of Pentacles, like this feeling of scarcity, this feeling like if you took the leap of faith, you wouldn't have your needs met, or like things won't work out, or you won't have the finances, or you don't feel comfortable investing into something, whether that's time or energy or money, anything. Basically, I'm getting the sense that you're meant to be moving into something, but there's a fear there kind of blocking you, of you feeling like you're not going to have enough of something once you make that decision, enough of something to feel stable. I'm just getting like this lack mentality coming in, this lack mentality, like not enough money, not enough time, not enough resources, not enough something to make it happen. And I feel like you're finally ending that cycle with the 10 of Swords. I feel like you've just gotten at this eclipse, like it's almost like, this sounds really gross, but it's almost like a zit coming to a head. Like it's literally just going to burst out at some point. It's like so ready to be relieved. It's this pus wants to leave your life. And I'm sorry, that's like a really nasty visual, but that's really what I'm getting from this, is like quite dark energy, quite heavy energy, just wanting to leave your life, because I see this like light coming in for you guys. I feel like that's what this warrior woman is. She's literally backed by this light behind her here. And I feel like you guys are being backed by light and pushed forward with the light. Like the light is literally pushing you forward towards your path, telling you to take this leap of faith, to just fall, and the light will catch you and you'll be fine. But in this process, the dark is being pushed out. So as the light pushes you forward, the dark is receding, but it's still there. So I feel like this is kind of this wrapping up of that cycle, or the last little rearing of the head that you're experiencing around this kind of denser energy. Okay, so I pulled the Mars in Pisces escape card. And even more than escape with Mars in Pisces, I'm getting this energy of like martyrdom or victimhood, or like feeling bad for yourself, or like, oh, why don't things work out for me? Like they look like they're working out for other people. Why don't they ever come in for me? And like, why can't I catch a break? This kind of Mars and Pisces energy of woe is me. I just really want to say to be careful with that, because I do feel like that's going to kind of come along with the 5 of Pentacles. It's a sense of self-pity. And we all have that. We all do that all the time. I mean, it sounds really intense when I say self-pity, but we all have those moments where we're like, yeah, I see other people getting what I want, and why can't I get that? It's not fair. You know, I can never get my needs met. I can never get what I want, like this 5 of Pentacles energy. So just be really careful of that, because I feel like those thoughts can not help you necessarily, and it can become this kind of cycle. So it's good to be aware of that if you feel like you're falling into some of those thoughts. And there can be some active escapism here, because there's a square to Neptune in the 5th house happening with this moon, and both Neptune and the 5th house have a lot to do with escapism. The fifth house is where we tend to escape with drugs, sex, alcohol, shopping, gambling, just any kind of element of our life that leads to excess and overindulgence. And Neptune likes to escape through any method possible where you're not engaging in the mind as much. So if you find yourself kind of wanting to buy more stuff or watch more TV, or you just basically avoiding the feelings that kind of come along with this, just keep in mind that that's also something that you're being warned against. It's very good though, because it's square to Neptune. While there is that negative side of wanting to overindulge and escape, there's the positive side of being able to really rely on your creative energy to express some of the emotions that you're feeling. So the square can be used in a positive way if you sit down and like paint or journal, or even just spend time in nature, or even connecting with friends socially, not in an avoidance type of way, but in a way where you feel like your friends are nurturing you and addressing the emotions in a communicative way. So I really feel like this square can be very positive if you're relying more on your creative side. I also pulled this Jupiter in Aquarius card, which is innovation. So I do feel like whatever new project you guys are meant to start with this warrior woman, this leap of faith, I feel like you guys are starting something new. And I feel like it's going to be something that hasn't been done before with this Jupiter in Aquarius. I also feel like the fact that Jupiter is in Pisces right now, it's going to be moving back into Aquarius. I think is it June 28th or July 28th? I think it's July 28th. But anyway, it's going to be moving back into Aquarius. And I feel like that is when you're going to start to see more results take place. I feel like wherever you guys are at right now, it's really stifling and frustrating. And that's why I have the Five of Pentacles and the Ten of Swords. But right beneath it are these cards telling you to start this new journey. But I feel like there's kind of a slight delay in starting that until possibly Jupiter enters back into Aquarius. And then you're going to start to see like the ball rolling on these things, and you're going to feel a lot better. I also pulled the Moon and Libra card. So I feel like your friendships are going to be really helpful at this time to basically help you move through some of these more negative emotions. Like, it's time to really lean on other people. I know Scorpios and Scorpio Risings can be a little bit more insular and want to kind of deal with their emotions on their own, especially when they're in the thick of it. But I would encourage you to lean on other people a little bit more than you usually do, especially since I pulled the Six of Pentacles, which is around equal giving and receiving. I definitely think you're going to step into this in a more literal sense, where you're finally starting to get some of the energy you've been putting out after you've been so frustrated. And I feel like that's why I pulled the Death card, because there's finally an ending to that cycle of you constantly giving and not getting back in return what you deserve. So I do feel like this is a full stop ending here, but an ending of a bad cycle, an ending of the cycle that began with the Five of Pentacles, you guys. Like, this is an ending of scarcity. But I do feel like at this time of the eclipse, it's going to feel like you're still in that scarcity mode. I do feel like it's going to be not until Jupiter moves back into Aquarius that you're going to start to see some progress. And then I feel like things are really going to get moving at the end of the year, when Jupiter finally does move into Pisces again for real this time. You guys also have Venus and Cancer in your 9th house, and this is making a sextile to Uranus in your 7th house. So I definitely feel like you're getting a lot of support through your relationships. And I feel like your relationships are going, and your connections with other people are going to help build the bridge from where you are now to your future vision. I feel like you're really going to draw on the resources, the ideas, the help of other people in order to make your dreams come true. Because when I think of the ninth house, I think a lot about our vision of our future life and being optimistic about what that is and what's coming in. But Uranus with the sextile here is saying you're going to have people start coming into your life that are going to give you the opportunity to work towards this future that you desire. And I think that's going to be extremely helpful. You also have Venus making a square to Chiron in the 6th house. So I do feel like there's a lot of mental chatter that's meant to be healed. You're not going to be able to be you're not going to be able to fully build this vision out if you're so focused on the lack and what you don't have. I definitely feel like the sixth house has a lot to do with illness and with scarcity and with things honestly being quite negative. And so the fact that there's a square here, I feel like there's an extra focus, maybe too much, on the things that you don't have, the things that aren't going well. And it's just going to be important for you guys to shift the focus and shift your mindset away from that in order for you to start building this bridge that I was just talking about. Otherwise, you're going to give too many resources to that area when it should be used for your vision. You guys also have Mars in Cancer in the ninth house, and this is opposing Pluto in your third house. So I feel like with Pluto in the third house, I feel like there's this long-term journey of you guys really coming into your own power in terms of managing your mindset, managing your, I feel like it's a lot about, when I think of the third house, I think a lot of it is related to the busyness of just like the daily life. It's sort of similar to the sixth house in the fact that like when we have a lot of commotion going on and a lot to do, it's managed in the sixth, like we set up our routine and our day and everything like that. But the commotion, the energy, the connection, the communication, the travel, and the action is in the third house. So I hope that makes sense. So I feel like you guys are, first of all, kind of transforming the way that you address a lot of different areas of your life, like a lot of different action that you take, a lot of different commotion. It's like, I feel like you guys are transforming your relationship with busyness, with time, but also with your mindset. So I feel like those three things are on this larger cycle being transformed for you over the years. So even like how your mind does when you get busy, or how your mind does when you're waiting for something, or what thoughts you think in the context of time in your life. So I feel like those things are just, again, undergoing a deeper transformation over time. And it is being activated because Pluto is making an opposition to Mars in the ninth. So the Mars in the ninth is us really establishing our ideal, our truth, and holding our boundaries around it. It can also give us a lot of energy for travel. And yeah, that's also something because you have Venus in the ninth making a sextile to Uranus in the seventh, you might have an opportunity for travel come in that is because of other people, or that's you're going to meet some people there that are going to help you with some of the things that you're trying to bring to life. But I'm definitely in a sense here that travel and higher education are going to be important for you at this time, and you're going to have a lot of energy for those. But equally so, I feel like as you're going out and doing these new things and meeting these new people, there's going to be a need for you to really hold your ground in terms of your beliefs and your vision for what you want to create. Because again, the ninth house has a lot to do with that vision and our belief systems and our values. So I feel like that's just going to be something that is going to draw a lot of your attention. I feel like this is kind of a long-term thing. Like over time, you're going to need to define what those beliefs are and uphold them with more of like a strong boundary, a strong Mars boundary. But this opposition here is interesting because there's a focus on the day-to-day, the busyness with Pluto in the third, and then with Mars in the ninth, there's a focus on the long-term vision. So there's going to be this need to balance the things that are going to get you somewhere today versus the things that are getting you somewhere 3 years from now. I really feel like there's kind of two different storylines playing out when I see this. It's like you have, for example, if you have a business, for example, you have a project that you have to attend to clients now. That's how you get money. You pay, the clients pay you, you give them your service now. But in the long term, you maybe don't want to do that same service forever. So you want to build this larger project over time. There's a need to balance the two. So that's why these are two. This is why it's in opposition. There's two of these sides kind of pushing and pulling back and forth, trying to get your attention. So there's just going to be a need to bring those together and kind of merge these two qualities of your life so that you make sure that you can achieve what you want, but still address the things in your immediate environment that are requiring your attention. And lastly, Pluto's making a sextile to Neptune in the fifth. So I do feel like as you are honestly kind of expressing a lot of your creative energy. Like I feel like you guys are with this new cycle, I feel like you guys are going to get a lot more like creative ideas coming to you with Neptune in the fifth. And especially, yeah, with Pluto in the third, it's like your mindset is going to start, like your mind is going to start to receive these kind of like intuitive downloads about what you want to create. And like, yeah, I just feel like that's going to be, I keep saying creativity, but that's going to be really helpful in terms of you actually sitting down and making something or coming up with an idea that's really unique. And I already mentioned it before, but I think that's going to be a really healthy outlet when you start to fall into this Five of Pentacles energy, where you're feeling the lack. Just make sure that you're not using escapism, but using things like art, where your soul is being expressed, and it also feels like your emotional nature is being tended to while doing something. So it's not avoiding, but it's like cathartic. They're two different things. You can do something that helps you relieve the feeling, or you can do something to avoid the feeling. So just do the latter or the former. You know what I'm saying? All right, so that's what I see for you guys, Scorpio rising. I feel like you guys are moving through this ending of a cycle of lack and being called to step into this new beginning where you have more faith and more optimism about what is ahead of you. And I do feel like really good things are ahead of you, but just be really careful not to fall into that negative woe is me mindset, or kind of feeling like things aren't working out in your favor, because this is the ending of a cycle. So it always can kind of feel like the darkest before the dawn. So you might feel kind of bad at this time, at periods of this time, not right now, but eclipses in the 8th house can be intense. Like the 8th house is often where we have shadows, and eclipses bring a lot to the surface. It's a lot of feelings, a lot of change. But that's kind of what you need to do to clear away all the things that could be blocking your potential success. So this is a very pivotal moment for you. So make sure that you're really leaning on people at this time and receiving, because I think you've given so much. And I think that's going to be the start of a new chapter. So I hope you enjoy this. If it resonates, please like and comment down below. And if you're interested in learning about astrology, I have a whole course on my membership site, which is only $20. And I also have live calls with coaches and practitioners. And it's just such a great place to be and to hang out and get to know a lot more about yourself and your own psychology. So if you're interested in learning about that, then you can check out the link down below. It's called the North Node Society. I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have a Sagittarius Rising. So for you guys, this new moon solar eclipse in Gemini is happening in your 7th house of partnerships. And and it's interesting because, I mean, all of eclipse season is going to be really impactful for you guys. So the next month is going to feel more intense, or it's possible that you might see, I'm just going to say the next 6 months, because eclipse energies really fall in. I mean, the eclipses take place now, but the events can take place anytime over the next 6 months. So I can definitely see you guys having some major life-changing moments happening in all these areas of your life, and one of them being relationships, because of this eclipse happening in the 7th house. Interesting. This eclipse is also conjunct Mercury retrograde, which I didn't say at the beginning that Mercury was retrograde, but whenever there's some element of retrograde energy, there's an element of looking in the past or redoing something that we've already started in the past, or examining some past energies. So I feel like you guys are having a new beginning in your relationship, but in order to have that new beginning, you're clearing up some past life. I just said past life. Childhood energies or some past energies. Yeah. I pulled the 5 of Cups and 5 of Pentacles. So I feel like this past could be about some sort of loss that you've experienced, or some sort of rejection, or feeling of not belonging, or finding partners who truly resonate with you, who truly uplift you. I feel like that was your past. Or you've had some sort of past relationship that didn't feel good. Like there was some element of it that ended poorly, or that didn't help you in some way, or wasn't uplifting enough. And it doesn't have to be a relationship, but I do feel like it is coming in through relationships, because of that's where this moon is taking place. So that's where the new beginning is happening. So I feel like that's where the old is also clearing up. And this moon is also making a square to Neptune in the fourth. So I almost feel like this is linked to childhood because of Neptune in the fourth. It's like there's some aspect of your family coming in here. I just pulled Mercury in Leo, which says drama. You could have had drama in past relationships. You could have had people who were more narcissistic, because Leo energy can sometimes create narcissists when it's in the shadow side of itself. And it can create people who are not willing to admit that they're wrong, who get very angry or very passionate in an aggressive type of way about what they believe and what they think. And yeah, so maybe you guys grew up with people like that in your home, or maybe you had a past relationship that was similar to that, and maybe not as intense for all of you. This is a general reading, so that can be all along the scale. So you guys also have Jupiter and Gemini, which can bring about people who maybe were promising more than they could deliver in relationships, or who would say kind of things that you wanted to hear. I also feel like the positive side of this, though, is that the thing that's changing in your relationships is the communication. I feel like you guys are doing a lot of healing and growth in terms of the people that you're choosing and how you're able to communicate with them now compared to what it used to be like in your past relationships. So I feel like there's that's really what a lot of this is coming up from. And so the square to Neptune in the fourth can indicate maybe this need to heal some things from childhood around relationships or relating with one another. Maybe some of these patterns that you could have inherited from your family. We all have them, like our way of communicating. Maybe you or your partner has too much of an ego with communication, or has trouble admitting when you're wrong, or is saying something you can't deliver, or these are just some examples, but there's so many patterns that can kind of come up from childhood where we can inherit without realizing it some behaviors and communication styles that negatively affect our relationship. But since you guys are turning a new leaf in your area of relationships, I feel like you're finally letting those things go, and it's time to start feeling better about your connection with others. Break the change. I was literally just saying this. Ancestral patterns, healing, rewriting the future. That's what you guys are doing. You are breaking these ancestral patterns from your childhood that you've brought into your relationships in the past, and maybe even a little bit in this one. It's like I'm seeing you guys rewrite that story. You're finally making different choices so that you don't have that continue to happen. I love that. I also pulled the Queen of Swords. I feel like the Queen of Swords is you guys being brutally aware of how your mindset, your thoughts are contributing to certain patterns, certain behaviors. So it's not even just the awareness, but it's also your ability to be honest with yourself and honest with your partner. This is the Queen of Swords is not afraid to say it like it is. She has no problem because she believes in herself and she has confidence, just like the Queen of Wands. I feel like the reason why you guys are having new beginnings in your relationships is because you just had an eclipse in your first house of sense of self. You are different as a person. So as you're growing into your confidence and your leadership skills, you are starting to see these old patterns come up, and you're realizing that you're better than that now. Those things are done. Those things are ready to be put to bed. And so you're going to relate to people in new and different ways, becoming more honest and more confident. You guys also have Venus in Cancer making a sextile to Uranus in the 6th house. This to me is letting a lot of those things go. Insecurities that could have come up in your relationship, this fear around vulnerability. I feel like those things are going away, and you guys are finally able to connect with your partner on a really deep level. I feel like you're removing a lot of the muck that could be standing in between you and having a really soulful connection with someone. And with the sextile to Uranus in the 6th house, I'm getting the feeling here that this is something that you're almost going to be like because the 6th house, I feel like you're going to change the way that you show up to a relationship and be much more giving. Or your partner is going to be much more giving. Like I'm getting the sense of finally feeling like things are clearing up and you're connecting on such a deep level that you just want to give more. You want to be more present for that person. You want to be involved in their daily life, and you want them to be involved in yours and to support one another. It's like when I think of the Uranus, the sextile to Uranus in the sixth house, it's like doing really sweet, like acts of kindness, or what's that love language when they do stuff for you? It's there's like words of affirmation. Anyway, it's where you do something practical to help someone out. It's like doing the dishes or doing the laundry. Like that's the feeling that I'm gonna get, is that you guys are kind of supporting each other more emotionally by doing those things if you do have a partner. And if you're by yourself, it's like I feel like you guys are really making changes to your daily routine or the way that you take care of your health, and it's starting to affect your psychological state. I feel like you are starting to feel like more confident in yourself as a person. Maybe you have a new workout routine, and so you're starting to feel like, okay, yeah, like I'm getting my groove back. I'm able to encounter some of the more challenging aspects of my life and in my day with a stronger sense of confidence and sense of self. And it's like it's harder for those things to knock me off kilter now. So I am getting the sense that you're able to cultivate cultivate more inner strength to process the more negative sides of yourself and of life. So this is like being able to do shadow work and feeling confident in who you are and what you have to offer, and moving through these kind of lessons in life really quickly, making big upgrades to your personality, to your way of your taking care of your health, and to your way of reacting and relating with one another in your relationships. With the eclipse happening in your first and seventh house and just lighting up these areas of your life, it's like you're doing this huge metamorphosis and regeneration in this cycle, and I just feel like you're going to come out a totally new person. Venus is also making a square to Chiron in your fifth house. So it might feel like there are some aspects of your dating life or even your creative self that still need to be kind of fixed or addressed, or if it's like around children. There's Chiron in the fifth house means that there needs to be some sort of healing in the way that you express joy in your life, and a lot of ways that we either express joy in our life or the things that we create that feel like extensions of us. Those two different ways that the fifth house really comes in. So we can either create a business, we can create a child, we can create a home, or we can create like a masterpiece, like a artistic masterpiece, or we can start to enjoy those things. We can enjoy the masterpiece, we can enjoy our home, we can enjoy our relationships. So there's some element here of your there's some element here that needs to still be like adjusted or changed. I know that's really vague. I'm honestly not sure what I feel like that means for you guys. So I got the Keepers of Earth. You are not alone. Ancient ancestors stand behind you. This is so interesting that you got two ancestors cards, because I'm really getting the feeling with this square to Neptune that you guys are breaking ancestral patterns, but the ancestors that have passed are here to support you energetically. They're cheering you on, and they're realizing that this is actually a brand new cycle in terms of astrology, entering into the age of Aquarius. There's a new energy coming through that we've never experienced before. So we're finally able to transcend some of these heavier limitations that your ancestors probably never could in the past. So I feel like they're coming down here to fully support you at this time. And whatever this issue is with Chiron in the fifth house, I feel like it's going to be resolved with their support. You're going to feel like your ancestors, I mean, if you don't meditate with them, then I highly suggest that you do around this time, because I feel like you're going to feel like you have more guides and more support than ever before. And you're going to notice also that people will come into your life more at this time to kind of put you on a path of healing. So if there's anything left that needs to be addressed, I definitely get the feeling with this eclipse in the seventh that people are either going to come into your life to help produce that healing, or to help facilitate it. So either they're going to trigger you or be someone to help you throughout that process of healing after you have been triggered. Let me just look at what this square is. This square with Venus and Chiron, I just want to see what this is because I'm kind of confused. King of Wands. Yeah, so the King of Wands is about creating as well. The Wands is like a very creative, very passionate energy, and a lot of self-confidence. And this is interesting because this is a counterpart to the Queen of Wands. So the Queen of Wands feels much more intuitive, and she's definitely strong and independent in her own right, but I get the feeling that she uses, because she has this black cat here, I feel like she uses magic to kind of attract what she wants into her life, where this King of Wands, he feels like he's going out there and magnetizing people through more of his sheer will. So I feel like there is some element here, because the fifth house also has to do with like our desires and the things that we want out of life. So there could be something that needs to be healed here around you feeling like you deserve what you desire. You deserve to enjoy these blessings of life. You deserve to create this beautiful life. I feel like there can be this insecurity coming in, this feeling like, do I deserve this? And I feel like you are creating this self-confidence, but it's almost like you still have these fragments of yourself that still believe that maybe you don't deserve it, and this is coming from childhood. So I feel like this is actually the wound that you're breaking when it comes to your family. Your ancestral pattern is not only in the way that you relate to others, but in the way that you feel like you maybe don't deserve to experience the joy out of the things that you really want in life, whether that's in your dating life, in your sex life, in your kids, in your business. There is some element here of not being worthy, and I feel like you're releasing a lot of that. And even though it might not be conscious, I think a lot of this happens on a subconscious level when it comes to ancestral healing and ancestral patterns. So yeah, if you feel like you're kind of processing a lot, it's because Venus and Mars are moving through the 8th house. So this is a lot of I feel like this is a lot of processing what has happened in the past and bringing that to light to resolve things that are still triggering you or affecting you today. And again, I feel like those things in the past are from childhood or possibly relationships when you were younger with people who, again, didn't really give you the emotional support that you needed. You also, again, have Mars and Cancer in the 8th house, and this is opposing Pluto in the 2nd house. So this is that sense of confidence coming in here. Insecurity versus security. It's believing in yourself and being very fiercely independent versus really needing to rely on others for support. So there's this kind of opposition happening, this push and pull between these energies of wanting to self-actualize, wanting to stand on your own, and then also needing other people and needing to receive help just to kind of get by. So you guys are stepping more and more into your power, but you're transforming your relationship with yourself and with your confidence and your ability to deserve and attract the things that you desire, the things that are going to bring you a lot of joy in your life. And Pluto is making a sextile to Neptune in the 4th, which is saying that as you start to heal some of these ancestral patterns around not being worthy of deserving this amount of happiness or these things in your life or this amazing relationship, whatever it is for you, as you start to do that, you're going to start to accumulate more manifesting powers, because Pluto in the 2nd house is very powerful for being able to attract the things that you want, for being able to attract the opportunities to develop the skills, to develop the events or the resources or whatever it is in your life to make what you want happen. So I feel like this is a lot of deep healing going on for you guys, and this looks really positive for your relationships and also ultimately for your confidence and your career. So I hope that you guys enjoy this. If it resonates, please like and comment down below. And if you're interested in the North Node Society, if you're interested in learning about astrology and having a community of people interested in learning about their purpose and really finding out what their gifts are, then I highly suggest checking out the North Node Society, which is linked down below. Hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Capricorn Rising. So for you guys, this new moon solar eclipse in Gemini is happening in your 6th house of work, health, daily routines, and it is conjunct Mercury retrograde, which is about I didn't mention this in the intro, but is about releasing things from the past or revisiting something from the past. There is some element of looking back to address something that has already taken place. And this could be in your career. It doesn't have to be just in your career. But yeah, I feel like having a new beginning here is interesting. I feel like if you have a business, then having a new beginning at sixth house can mean you hiring employees or establishing different types of relationships with the people that work for you. Or if you work for a company, it can be about altering the way that you interact with your work or your colleagues and your communication with there, especially because there's a square to Neptune in the third house. So I feel like there can be maybe some more trouble with communicating about the people that you work with. Or maybe some people are communicating at your workplace and telling you to do something and it's not clear, or you just don't really know what they're trying to say, or they're not giving clear guidelines or expectations. So yeah, I do feel like communication and understanding the people that you are trying to serve or the people that are serving you, those are kind of really big highlights at this time. On the bottom of the deck is Queen of Pentacles. That's awesome, you guys. Some strong manifestation come in. I'll just pull that because it's such a beautiful card. Yeah, so I also feel like if this isn't related to work, which I really feel like for a lot of you it is, it could be related to your health. So you might receive some information about some health issue that you've kind of addressed in the past or that has been ongoing from the past that you haven't like fully resolved or fully looked into. And I think that the square to Neptune can mean that you're not fully understanding or clear about what the issue is or about how to resolve it if there is a health issue. The sixth house can also be related to just the way that we show up every day. So maybe like with your routines and whatnot. So maybe you need to revisit some routines that you've already established and ask yourself if they're still working for you today. And with the square to Neptune in the third, it can be you not having clarity around what needs to change exactly with your routines, but just a general need to maybe slow down and listen to your intuition in terms of creating your new routine, because the third house can be quite busy, but Neptune is a very slow planet that likes to relax, that likes to rest. I also pulled the Four of Swords, so I am getting some messages here around maybe your busyness and the way that you have a lot going on in your work, and that can be quite overwhelming. Maybe you're finishing up old projects and you just have so much going on, and it's like you kind of need to rest a little bit with the square to Neptune in the third. You need to just trust your intuition about when it's time to rest. I think that's probably one of the biggest messages coming through. I did pull the Star Mother card. How can you mother yourself? I definitely feel like that's what it's saying. How can you take care of yourself? What does your inner child need? Does she need to rest? Does she need to eat? Does she need to play? Really going with your intuition as far as what your soul needs to thrive, and not just be so focused on giving more and more to other people, because having an eclipse in the third house with Mercury there, it's kind of drawing your attention to the way that you're giving to others, but it's also asking yourself, what are you giving yourself? And you again have more focus and more energy on others because you also have Venus and Mars moving through Cancer in your seventh house of others, of your relationships. Venus is making a sextile to Uranus in the fifth house. So in terms of enjoying relationships, this is the creme de la creme. This is the perfect time and opportunity to make connections with people that you're really loving. So if you aren't with somebody, I would suggest getting on a dating app. You could unexpectedly meet somebody when you're going out with some friends or going out to dinner, and it's just, you just hit it off. Or if you're already in a partnership, you can find some unexpected romance coming up for you, or just like a better sex life than usual, more spontaneity, more fun, more pleasure and joy, and in an unexpected way, in a way that feels very lively. You also have Venus making a square to Chiron in the fourth house. So I feel like this is saying that there is some elements here around your relationships and emotional stability that is being asked to be addressed. So Chiron in the fourth house is kind of rewriting the story of our emotional childhood, the imprint that our parents left on us. And yeah, I feel like the fourth house has a lot to do with the mother, your relationship with your mother, and how you mother yourself, which is this card that I pulled. So I feel like those issues have been just kind of ongoing, but now that there's a square with Venus and Chiron, it can bring up something in your relationship with other people that asks you to look at some of how some of these maybe childhood emotional wounds where you're needing to mother or parent yourself at this time, and heal some things from the past that can come from your family, or that can come from the way that you were raised, or just from maybe some traumatic childhood experiences. I also have, you guys also have Mars in Cancer in the seventh house opposing Pluto in the first. So this is this big push and pull between focusing on yourself and focusing on relationships. Pluto in the first is doing a lot of transformative work on your nature, on your essence, on your purpose, on your behavior, on your physical appearance. There's a slow moving transition into a new way of being that's occurring over many years, and that is drawing your attention. But Mars in Cancer in the seventh house is saying, look at me, look at me. Let's give more to our relationships. Let's really focus on other people at this time. And this opposition is kind of pushing and pulling and pushing and pulling. And you will have a lot of drive to dedicate to other people and to yourself. But it's just about finding that nice balance in between. And I do think with Venus with Mars in your seventh house, it will kind of alleviate maybe any strife that Mars can bring in terms of relationships. Mars can kind of create tension, but then I think Venus will help alleviate any tension. Mars can bring some of that more sexual energy, especially because there's a sextile between Venus and Uranus in the fifth house. I feel like the sex is going to be great right now, is basically what I'm trying to say. Oh, and it's so funny. I pulled the Jupiter and Pisces card, which says seduction. And I don't normally think of Jupiter and Pisces as like sexy energy, but I definitely get this feeling of like you guys are kind of gotten a little bit of this is a good time basically to make babies or whatever. But yeah, I also pulled the Mars and Virgo card. That's what I was saying. Like Mars in your seventh house, there could be a little bit of strife coming up, but I think again Venus will help resolve it. Mars in Virgo says criticism, and that's exactly what that is. Like it's someone being overly critical, or someone trying to find fault in something. So that could come up at this time. That could also come up at work with the moon, with this eclipse happening in the sixth house. Maybe you kind of have those communication issues where somebody's critiquing something that you're doing, or you're critiquing something that somebody else is doing, and that's causing some kind of like discomfort and then like lack of clarity around where you stand with that person, or what they think about you, or what they think about your work. Or that could be coming up in your relationships where people that you love are being like, girl, you didn't put the dishes away, and you're just like, get off my back, and then you guys go have sex and it's fine. It's just like a mixed bag, you know. Like I feel like a lot of this is really good, but you might get some of that kind of annoying energy coming through in terms of criticism, I guess. Pluto in the first house is also making a sextile to Neptune in the third. So I feel like the more that you stand in your own power and really own your own boundaries and stand up for yourself and focus on yourself, when you feel in your heart that you need to dedicate time and energy to yourself and your goals and your beliefs, the more that you do that, the more that you're going to be able to communicate in a really healthy way. I feel like that confusion with Neptune, that confusion with the communication and understanding one another in work or in your relationships, that's going to clear up if you hold your boundaries. And that includes in the workplace, which can be honestly really uncomfortable, but I feel like it's going to be really good for you to kind of, hold your ground in a way. I didn't really talk about the cards that much. I want to talk about this. So I pulled the Three of Wands and the Eight of Cups card. So I'm definitely getting the sense that you guys are probably having some kind of transition, because that's what I'm getting with these cards with the water and these people walking away. I'm getting the sense that there's some kind of like transition happening where maybe you're starting a new job, because this is the sixth house. So you could be working for somebody else or hiring someone to work for you. If you're not starting a new job, maybe you're starting a new health routine, or possibly like a new way of approaching some aspect of your relationship. Like maybe you try out like new stuff in your sex life kind of thing. Like, I don't know, I'm getting the sense that there's this transition. Like, I don't feel like you're full on in that next chapter yet, but I feel like you are kind of at the beginning of it. Like, you're moving into something new, something a little bit different that's going to be changing up your daily routine. So I don't feel like whatever daily routine you've had for the last 4 months, like, I don't think that's the one you're going to have for the next 6 months. I think it's going to radically change over time. So like your day-to-day, how you spend your time, your hours, those are all going to transition. Just make sure again that you're spending enough time on your own resting, because I feel like you're going to possibly burn out if you don't do that, because the sixth house with an eclipse there, and especially with the square Neptune in the third, it's like there can be a lot of tasks, like a lot of things that you have to do for other people, and it's not always like the most fun things. It's like things that you have to do. It's like debts that you have to pay, sweat that you have to sweat, time you have to put in, and I just don't want you guys to burn out. So just be really mindful that you are resting. And then if you do that and you hold your boundaries and really focus on balancing self versus others, you will achieve this Queen of Pentacles here, where you're really feeling like you're abundant and successful and independent. And like you got your money, you got your man, you got anything that you need. Okay, that sounded really dumb. I'm sorry for doing that. But you know what I'm saying. You have everything that you need, and it's because you did it yourself and you earned it yourself by working your butt off and putting in the sweat equity. But again, you will burn out if you don't rest. So be very careful about that with this energy coming up. Okay, so that's what I see for you guys. If this resonates, please like and comment down below. And if you're interested in learning more about astrology, if you're interested in doing live breathwork sessions or yoga classes, or doing some basic coaching one-on-one live with people, working through limiting beliefs, if you're interested in any of that and really finding and living your purpose and your gifts and all that, then I highly suggest you check out the North Node Society, which is linked down below. It's a brand new membership I started where I have a full astrology course available, and it's only $20 to get started. So I hope to see you guys in there, and I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Aquarius Rising. So for you guys, this new moon in Gemini solar eclipse is happening in your 5th house of children, of creative self-expression, of joy, sex, dating, travel. There's so many things that the 5th house entails. And it's making a conjunction with Mercury, which is in retrograde. I didn't mention this at the beginning, so I've been really going through all of the groups and kind of talking about this. But because this is conjunct Mercury, because Mercury is in retrograde with this moon, it's basically saying that there needs to be something that we revisit from the past. So something that we haven't fully finished, or we're starting some, like eclipses always start something new, but it's interesting that it's with a planet that is focused on the past. So it's almost like we have to tie up some loose ends or finish some last things before we can have this new beginning. It's possible that this time is a lot about addressing those things from the past, related to children, related to creativity, that type of thing. You guys are getting some intense energy coming up in your tarot cards. This moon is also making a square to Neptune in the 2nd house. So some of what needs to be probably addressed for you guys at this time is also related to either finances, your skill development, like working, what you do for work, like preparing yourself for what you do for work, literally skill development, or it can have to do with your self-confidence and your self-worth and ability to manifest. So what is going on here? Let me pull one more card. Okay. Yeah, I feel like you guys have been maybe in this feeling of like you're not moving forward with something that you've been wanting to create. or have in your life. Because the fifth house is something that typically brings us a lot of joy, and maybe there's something that you've been wanting to do that feels really passionate, that feels like it's going to bring you that joy, especially something that is involving like stronger leadership abilities, like having your own business, for example, because I just pulled the sun in Aries, and Aries is a sign that typically is an entrepreneur, has their own thing going on that they're the leader of. It could be you literally leading a household, or it could be you leading a business or some passion project. But I'm getting the sense that you guys are like wanting to do something that you're really passionate about, but you're kind of I feel like you've been maybe feeling a little bit stagnant. That's what I'm getting. Like the first two cards of this spread are just giving me this feeling of stagnancy. I pulled the Seven of Wands and Eight of Swords. And the Seven of Wands, this person is fighting for what they need to survive. My friend was just telling me about this card, actually. They were saying that oh wait, that's the Seven of Swords. Never mind. Okay, cool. Yeah, I feel like this person is fighting for what they need to survive. They're fighting other people to get what they want. It doesn't feel easy. It feels like an uphill battle. And then this person literally has themselves all tied up and all these swords all around them. And it's like their mind is getting the best of them. So I feel like you guys have been fighting some kind of emotional uphill battle, probably within yourself, where you're stagnating or stopping yourself from fully jumping into this energy of whatever feels really good. And I feel like now you're being asked to step into kind of this more masculine energy of going out and taking what you want. I feel like maybe you could have been getting in your head about you not deserving it with this square to Neptune in the second. It's like, do I deserve it? Am I capable? Can I actually make this happen? And if I want to make this happen, can I actually get the finances that I need to make this happen? I feel like this is a lot about this inner dialogue that you guys are having back and forth. Like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if this is like just being overly idealistic. Like, can I actually make this happen for myself? Whatever this thing is, even if it's like, if it's having a kid, for example, and like growing your family, it's like you getting in your head about, well, am I capable of having a kid? Am I capable of affording a kid? Am I going to be a good parent? Having confidence in that area. Or if it's creating something that you really want to see in the world, starting your passion project, whatever that requires that independence, that leadership, it's you doubting yourself and your ability to make money from it. And I feel like you're just being asked, yeah, you have Mars and Gemini. It's like, make the decision. Just make the decision to follow what feels good and what feels exciting for you right now. I feel like the stagnation is because you haven't made the decision. You haven't committed to it. Or if you've made the decision, you are internally having all of these thoughts that are opposing your decision. And so even though you've actively made the decision, the energy of your thoughts is still pulling you backwards into your previous reality. So your energy wants to move forward. The ending card that I have is the Eight of Wands. Your energy wants to move forward. There wants to be a shift. There wants to be a speeding up of things. There wants to be this production happening. I mean, you guys have had Saturn in your sign this whole year, and it's going to continue in your sign, and this slows things down. This puts in obstacles. This makes more hardships. So I feel like you guys are kind of embodying the energy of Saturn and kind of blocking yourself. And it's time to take off the backpack and like ride and go fast and let things move. But you have to make the decision and follow it through by having supportive thoughts and actions that tell yourself and tell the universe that you are capable and that you can do it. So it's a lot about believing in your own abilities right now, believing that you will have the resources to catch you when you are trying to go after something. And pursuing your dreams. So I feel like there is some element here where you maybe feel like it's not realistic enough, but there's always a way where you can make things work. And the sense that I'm getting is that you're going to make things work by having support from other people. That's what I feel like this Three of Pentacles is saying, is that you're not supposed to do this on your own. I feel like this is either a collaborative thing, or your partner is supposed to support you financially while you do this. Like there is some element of someone here kind of being that backbone for you and helping you create this stability where you are not sure if it's going to be there if they're not there. So yeah, I feel like you guys are going to, if you make the decision, you full on commit, you full send, and you rely and lean on other people, I feel like you're going to start to see things start picking up a lot quicker and moving a lot faster. And at that point, I feel like you're going to be a lot happier with the advancement that you're making in your life. With the Sun and Sagittarius card, you're going to start to see progress. You're going to start to feel optimistic about the progress that you're making in the direction that you're going in. And I do feel like this has something to do with work, because you guys also have Venus and Mars transiting your 6th house, which is you working for somebody else. So if you don't have your own business yet, this is you working for someone else and feeling like you can maybe finally save some money, or you're getting unexpected support coming in from other people with this Venus in the 6th house. I feel like the 6th house is often where we feel indebted to others. Like on a soul level, this is like where a lot of service happens, where we owe things from past lives, or we karmically just need to repay things. But with Venus here, I feel like that's finally coming back to you. Like now you are finally going to get someone to support you. You've probably done so much for yourself, for others, for your family, and now it's time for someone to finally support you. And I feel like this could be coming in from your family because of the sextile to Uranus in the 4th house that's happening with Venus. So I feel like this kind of support that you're getting within your work is actually coming from your family or from your home, and it's giving you the stability and the okay and the go ahead to finally pursue some of these things that you feel more passionate about, but you're not sure if they're going to work out. It feels more like a long-term investment. It feels more like a risk, and that's why you've been stagnating and keeping yourself stuck. But actually your family is supporting you at this time, or your work is supporting you at this time to make this happen. It's just about getting out of your own way, because Venus is making a square to Chiron in the 3rd house. Chiron in the 3rd house is healing our mindset over time. There can be an unhealthy mindset that you've accumulated from childhood that tells you that you're not good enough, that you can't do something, that you don't have time for something, that you're too busy, that you can create an unhealthy relationship with time and with responsibilities with this. So with Venus making a square there, it's a necessary evil to kind of heal some of those I want to say untruths, things that aren't true. I feel like there are things that aren't true that are kind of playing in your mind and telling you that you can't have something because you're too busy, because you have too much responsibility, because you owe everyone this stuff to everyone else, because you don't have what it takes. There's some element here of like, I can't do it, it's not realistic, it's not practical. And I feel like this square with Venus is saying, no, let's heal that. You are finally able to receive support now because you've done a lot for other people. Now you can just chill for a second and receive. But I feel like because Mars is in the 6th house and it's opposing Pluto in the 12th house, I feel like there's part of you that might have trouble with receiving and with rest. But there's a need to have both of those, to integrate both of those. With Mars in the 6th, there can be this feeling of overworking, overgiving. So if you're a mom and you have a job and you clean your house, like all of those things are weighing on you and they're taking a lot of your energy. And that's totally fine with Mars in 6th house. You have a lot of energy to give to those. It's fine if you want to do those things, but you also need to rest. You also need to take time meditation. You also need to take time for self-care. And that's Pluto in the 12th. You have to do the internal work. So the internal work comes from rest. So there is this need to balance your giving and your receiving, your rest with your action. And this has been a really common one with a lot of the different signs. So it's not just you, but I'm just getting that message really clearly that you guys need to make sure that you take that time to replenish your soul as well. And as you replenish your soul, you're going to gain more confidence in your ability to do this. You're going to trust more that the universe is going to support you. And you replenish your soul by developing a spiritual practice. If you're too focused on how much you're supposed to be working and how much you're supposed to be taking care of all of your duties and your responsibilities, you're taking away from not you're taking away from, but you might not be balancing your soul's need for spiritual time, like for your time to connect to the universe and the reason for you being here. You don't want to get so focused on the humdrum of life, on the responsibilities of life, that you don't actually enjoy why your soul came down here to begin with. And that's to be a part of something bigger, something energetic, something spiritual, something that makes you feel alive and replenished and good, and not just exhausted after spending time with it. So you're going to have to develop you're going to have to concentrate on your spiritual practice at this time. But when you do that, you're going to have more manifestation powers. You're going to have more trust that your finances are going to be met. You're going to have more trust in your ability to create the things that you want, and to have and your skill set that's going to help you go after this passion project that you're interested in, or this dream life that you want to create. So that's what I'm seeing for you guys, Aquarius Risings. If this resonates, please like and comment down below, because you guys are awesome as always. Just definitely getting a lot of creativity coming my way from you guys, and I'm really excited to see what that looks like. But again, I feel like it's some project or something that you might have been interested in the past, or kind of started in the past, that hasn't been fully seen through or fully perfected. So I am very excited for you guys. And if you're interested in learning more about astrology, or if you want to deep dive into your chart, into your psyche, into your gifts, into your purpose, if any of that sounds interesting to you, then I highly suggest checking out the North Node Society, which is linked down below. Hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, and lastly, we have Pisces Rising. So for you guys, this new moon in Gemini solar eclipse is happening in your 4th house of your home, your family, your roots, your emotional foundation. So for Pisces, this is a big one for you guys. This is going to really alter you on a really deep level, especially because this moon is making a square to Neptune in your 1st house. So this eclipse, this big change, is coming from the roots up. It's going to express itself definitely outwardly, externally in your life, but I feel like it's going to come from deep internal changes that are shifting over the next 6 months. And I feel like you guys are going to be resolving some things from your childhood or from the past that you've been really wanting to let go of, or to manifest a different reality from. It's weird, I just pulled these cards in the last group. That's so strange. And the reason I say that is because this eclipse is also making a conjunction with Mercury, which is retrograde. And Mercury is the planet of thinking, of communication, of ideas, of our mind. And when it's retrograde, it's basically saying that we're meant to take our mind to the past. We're meant to look back and see what things have been left unresolved. And when it's the 4th house matters, it's childhood stuff, it's family stuff that's left unresolved. And I feel like you guys are building some powerful new reality. I definitely see that with the 7 of Pentacles. I also got the 3 of Pentacles. You guys are building something strong, a strong foundation for the future. But in order to actually create this foundation, you have to kind of have really strong roots, or upturn the soil that's no longer positive, the soil that's no longer fertile in your life. There's some stagnant, old, dead soil that isn't helping you in any capacity, and that you're meant to release. And I feel like you're going to step into this profound sense of self where you feel very confident and you feel like you know yourself on a deep level. Neptune moving through your 1st house can challenge you to get to know yourself by a lack of control in your life, where you might feel like things are not clear, like you don't know which direction to go into. Like at times you might feel like you're being pushed and pulled by the currents of the universe or the world, and it's like you don't have your full hands on the steering wheel, and you don't know exactly what's going on at all times in your life, or who you even are at points. And it can be this deeply existential kind of crisis moment with Neptune in the 1st house. It's not like, it's such a slow moving planet, so it's not like you are stuck in this really intense existential crisis all the time. It's almost like this kind of underlying feeling of, I don't have full control of everything. And you might experience moments or events where Neptune is triggered that shows that lack of control or the need to surrender. And I pulled this card, Seeing the Light, Laying Foundations. What? Seeding the Light, Laying Foundations, Divine Plan. That's exactly what I said. You guys are building a new foundation. So I feel like you guys like I said, you're learning a lot about yourself through this lack of control, through this need to trust that life has your back. And you might also at times attract people who, um, with Neptune in the first, it's like at times you might attract people who are a little bit deceptive, and it really hones the tool of your intuition, because Neptune is a very intuitive energy, and it can help you basically create that that inner lighthouse that is going to move you through your life. So while you don't have full control, and you encounter all these people who might deceive you, or these circumstances where people aren't who they say they are, things aren't happening the way that you thought they were, and you lack clarity, what happens during that time? You create this fortitude within you about knowing who you are, about knowing what you want, and having the light within you, even when you like lack the clarity of the long term. It's like, even though I might not know exactly what I'm creating in the long term, like I still know what I want right now, and that's to listen to my intuition. That's to follow what feels good in the moment. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you don't know who you are in some ways, in the terms of like, what role do I play in this world in all moments? But it's like, you know who you are as a spiritual person, as a soul, as someone that belongs to the energetic world. So it's like your soul is kind of defining itself, while the external world is challenging you to maybe not always have that clarity around the physical world. So I hope that makes sense. I feel like that's super wordy, but I'm getting this idea of like, you guys as a soul gaining a lot of clarity around your like soul's purpose and your soul's identity, but that doesn't always translate into the physical world of like, what job should I have? What career should I be doing? What is my thing? What is my thing that I'm going to help people do? Like that, I think, is still kind of falling into place for a lot of you guys. And maybe you've already found it, but you could still encounter circumstances that do ask you to surrender your control and to really trust. And that can be challenging. So yeah, I'm definitely seeing you guys revisiting some childhood stuff, in order to create stronger foundations and a stronger sense of self. And you might kind of question yourself based off of some of the stuff that you're finding from your childhood. And that questioning is really important. That's going to help lead you down a path where you're starting to uncover your true nature, your true soul nature, like I was saying, and kind of getting rid of the stuff that's from your family, not actually you. So that questioning is key here. Okay. So on top of that, you guys have Venus and Cancer in the 5th house, making a sextile to Uranus in the 3rd house. I feel like this is really great in terms of having like a really passionate kind of sex life. It's really great in having really creative ideas, like especially creative ideas. You could also receive some like good news coming in around some thing that you're excited about creating, or something that you are like, or something around your dating life. It's like communication could flow better than normal with the people that you're with, or you might find that the things that you enjoy doing and are pursuing in terms of your pleasure in life, like that you're just doing for fun, like those things are going to start really helping your mindset, and it's going to create some shifts in the way that you either think or communicate that are going to benefit your life overall. So that seems really positive. I feel like it's just going to enhance your mood generally. I feel like that's what I see. But the enhancement can feel like sudden or unexpected, or you might have a realization about something that you're really good at creatively, and you're like, hey, I could do that, or I could pursue that. And then it's kind of about working through the shadow in terms of family, to create a strong foundation of knowing that you can do that, that any self-doubt that might come in is not allowed. Because this is the 8 of Swords. I feel like there's a lot of self-doubt, and I feel like this self-doubt is coming from family or childhood, and that's what has to be worked through. Because I feel like you guys have a lot of creative energy coming in with the 3 of Pentacles. Like, this person's literally creating artwork. I know this is a lot about collaboration, but I'm not getting collaboration as much as I'm getting this feeling of like you doing something that feels like it's activating the pleasure centers of your brain, that it's activating the part of you that is creative, instead of just the more mundane things that you typically do. So this could be you literally starting a hobby because this person's painting. So I feel like if you started a hobby, that would be really beneficial, to pursue that, and to not just pursue it like for fun. I mean, yeah, to pursue it for fun, but to not just pursue it in like a really like haphazard way, like, oh well, maybe sometimes like once a month I'll like do this hobby. I'm getting this feeling of like the need to be dedicated to whatever it is you're pursuing. So if you're interested in doing photography, for example, with Venus and Mars in the fifth, it's like, okay, well, even if it's just for fun, you don't want to do it for work, like dedicate every Saturday to doing photography. And it's like, as you start to do that, as you start to give your time to the things that bring you pleasure and bring you joy, your mindset around your identity, around yourself, is going to start to shift and be very uplifted. I feel like you guys will gain confidence through skills, is kind of like what I'm seeing here. But you guys actually have to, um, yeah, you actually have to allow yourself to do that. And the only thing that could get in your way is all this like emotional baggage from childhood, honestly. So that's like the biggest thing that's being cleared around this eclipse. So you can start to pursue things that feel really fun, feel really exciting, and that add just another dimension of positivity to your life. You also have Venus in the fifth house making a square to Chiron in the second. So I feel like, again, that's saying that as you work on these creative ventures or these hobbies, you're going to have that voice in the back of your head that's like, well, I'm actually not good at this. This isn't perfect, or this doesn't make me money, or this isn't practical. And so I feel like this square here is saying that there's a need to make, again, those shifts in your mindset, or some kind of adjustment to the way that you perceive pursuing this hobby, or the way that you perceive yourself and your abilities in pursuing it. And that is going to allow you to heal kind of your relationship with your confidence and heal your relationship with money. So yeah, I'm definitely getting this need for like an outlet of something that you really enjoy, something that feels like it's on fire for you and just so pleasurable. And I feel like that's going to bring a lot of confidence, because I have this Queen of Wands here, and I feel like this confident sense of self only comes from doing things that bring us joy and doing them well. Like dedicating yourself to it, do it well, master whatever it is, even if it's not for financial success, even if it's not for anything important, if it's just for you and your confidence. That's what you need right now. That's part of what's going to help you heal from these stories and these emotional baggage that you've inherited from childhood. Like, what makes people confident is living in alignment with their values, doing the things that they say they're going to do, having integrity, and really challenging themselves to grow by working on things that bring them joy, and working on them in a way that's challenging, that pushes them, that puts the pressure, so you can build the muscle, build the strength, build the tone of your mind and your heart and your personality. So I feel like you guys are fortifying yourself. You're fortifying those roots. You're purifying them. You're cleansing away those old negative thoughts. But you're doing it by developing a hobby and a skill and pursuing it with your all. You also have Mars and Cancer in the fifth house opposing Pluto in the 11th. So there can be this push and pull between pursuing those hobbies and hanging out with friends, kind of thing. Like, okay, I'm gonna create something and like put energy into developing this thing that I enjoy. Or, you know, there's all these other people who want to hang out, and there's all these activities to do. There's like things to be, just like other people drawing your attention. So there's this need to balance these two areas of your life, to not go too hardcore into one or the other. And yeah, I feel like that's going to be positive. I think your friends are going to be a really good source of helping uplift you in your confidence and get clear on yourself and like who you are and all of that. I feel like that's going to be really healing for you to be with your friends. Just make sure you don't overdo it, essentially, is what I see. So that's what I have for you guys, Pisces Rising and Pisces Sun. I hope that you enjoyed this. If so, please like and comment down below. And if you're interested in learning about astrology, or if you want to kind of deep dive into your own psyche and do some shadow work and inner child work, then I highly suggest joining the membership, the North Node Society, and I've linked that down below so you can check it out. I hope you have a great day. Bye.